We are tonight's entertainment.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Excellent!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Movie Mania podcast, where we talk films past, present, and future. I am Sherman Trey White of Podcast Media, and joining me is the man, the myth, the legend. He's in a dream within a black hole, and love, and clones.
And I have a dead wife.
BanditIncorporated.
That's another Nolan trope we'll talk about. Everyone has a dead wife.
Has a dead wife. Oh boy.
Well.
Yes, well. What a lackluster start. Okay, great.
It has been trailer bonanza, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
Do you want to put all the trailers into news or homework assignment? How do you want to do it?
Well, that's pretty much all the news I have written down here, besides a couple of other stories.
We'll just do it as news. That's pretty much all that matters.
Okay, Bandit, how have you been doing, man? It's good to see you.
Yeah, I've been good. I've been slogging away. How about you?
Same here. Project's due in 2 days. Awesome. It's all zippity-doo-dah, homework, all the nice stuff, movie trailers. Yeah. A lot of reaction videos.
way too many, yeah.
Yeah, I've actually deleted Twitter since, if you guys don't know, as you all obviously know, Star Wars The Force Awakens premieres worldwide Thursday at 7 o'clock. I'm seeing it Friday at 7 because I have school, like a good student. And so, I deleted Twitter
screening.
last week.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah, you've seen the midnight screen. Yeah, I deleted Twitter last week because I haven't been on Twitter in a while. I'm deleting Instagram and Facebook tonight because I almost stumbled upon a spoiler yesterday, and I don't want to do that again. So,
you could just not go on Facebook or Twitter. You don't have to.
Well, people like to message me, and people like to comment on my stuff. People like to. People are like, you don't have. What I do is that I'll be sitting in my room and I'll be taking a break from my homework, and I'll be like scrolling through, and I'll hit Facebook, and I'll be like, oh hey, my mom liked my picture. I'll say thanks for liking my picture, and then next thing you know, I'll get a message. Hey man, did you see this? So I'm deleting the stuff because I can't keep myself tempted enough. So
that's right. And for all our listeners, timestamps in the description, both on iTunes and on Facebook as well, so you can jump around if you want.
Yes, of course. And speaking of listeners, Bandit, I will say you have perhaps some of the nicest commenters on your podcast on YouTube I have possibly.
We do, don't
met.
we?
Yes, we do. We have some really awesome people. In fact, I've taken some screenshots of the comments. I'm going to read the names here. Adam X says, Bandit, this was awesome, except for the part where the other guy talks. Thank you. and then Praise Igibor replies with, let's make a movement to keep him away. And I think later on I found some more comments. Let's see.
I jumped in that thread to defend you. Did you see that?
I did see that, yes. Praise Igibor came back again and said, let's make a movement to kick the other guy out of Bandit's videos. He's really annoying to listen to. Well, thank you very much, Praise Igibor. Thanks for still listening. You can always just not listen. You're not paying for this.
I'll say what I said in that comment. Look, every single person that I've done like any kind of video with or anything like that, people always say they hate the other guy. Okay, but podcast, you need two people. I'm not going to sit here and talk for 2 hours by myself like a crazy person. I do that all the rest of the time.
You barely do 15 minutes last week.
Yeah, so Trey, you're the host. You do all the work of like getting the news and organizing everything and all that. I could just show up and talk like this. I don't have to plan anything. And yes, that's how rare it is to find someone who's reliable like that.
I'll be completely honest with you.
Leave Trey alone. Trey's a good host.
I find this more funny than anything, So to Andre and Praise Igibor and Adam X, thank you. You don't have to listen to it. You're not paying for anything. Okay, so Bandit, let's get into the movie news.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. Cannonball!
So, Bandit, movie news. For starters, before we get into the trailers, let's just throw out some stuff here. For starters, Ryan Coogler, director of Creed, which I'm not sure if you've seen yet, but it's a great movie. I don't think you guys get it till February, honestly. I think that's I'm mistaken. But it's a great movie, Creed. We talked about it before.
I've
that's
heard
director
only
Ryan
good
Coogler.
things about it, actually. I've heard it's one of the best Rocky movies in years.
Yeah, it is, and Stallone gives probably an award nomination for each performance. But that director is in talks to do Black Panther. So, I'm really excited to see if they can. Yeah. So my only concern with this is that Marvel likes to get talent and then likes to rein that talent in and make them do what's set in that universe. And so my hope is that they can maybe give Coogler some more freedom because this is a new character, kind of like what I think they're doing with Scott Derrickson and Doctor Strange. But because I know they did that with Whedon in Age of Ultron, so I don't want to. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know if you have a thought on it. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
No, that sounds great.
Yes, of course. All right. Also, since it's the Movie Mania podcast, we have to talk Star Wars. So,
Yes.
Just one little brief thing here. There's a Star Wars review embargo until Wednesday. So,
Sure.
for all you guys that are wondering, when's the review coming out? It won't be out. Any reviews won't be out until Wednesday, which means that you guys have time to prepare. Stay off of social media, stay off the internet. If you don't want the plot leaked or anything like that, just keep away because everyone gets to see it internationally on Wednesday. But let's get into the trailers. Okay, so let's start with X-Men Apocalypse. Bandit, I'll let you give your thoughts on this trailer.
Well, I just put together, just before you called me, I've been putting together a video. I'm going to release 4 videos for the 4 trailers that came out, where they're all sort of linked type thing. And it was basically it sort of devolved into me just ranting about how much I hate Bryan Singer. So I look forward to all the hateful comments from people. But I kind of feel like I'm the wrong person to ask about the X-Men franchise because I'm a DC fan. I'm a DC fan of the comics. And let's face it, the X-Men movies have been very hit and miss. Probably more misses than hits. When you actually pan them all out. And for me, as someone who never really got into X-Men until X-Men First Class, that was the first movie that really made me sit up and pay attention and actually care about what was happening, other than just sort of oh yeah, okay. So for when Bryan Singer came back for Days of Future Past, I was not particularly thrilled. And I don't know, we'll see about this one. See, I'm the wrong person to ask because I'm just not that interested in a Bryan Singer X-Men movie. And yeah. I know I'm in the minority on that. That's how I feel about it. How did you feel about it?
Well, let me join you in the minority because
Really?
besides X-Men 2, I'm not the biggest advocate of a Bryan Singer X-Men film.
Yes.
I've seen the classics. Classics being a relative term. I've seen the originals, the early ones in the early 2000s. I think they're fine. My first X-Men film was X-Men The Last Stand because that's what I saw when I was a little child. Mm-hmm. I went with my mother, and I went and saw it in theaters. And I was like, oh, this is cool, superhero Wolverine //. But as I've grown older, I've realized it's a turd on wheels. But, and after that, we went and saw – I remember my mom took me out of school early as a present to go see Wolverine Origins. I remember that day vividly. She's like, he's got a dentist appointment, and then we snuck out and went and saw Wolverine Origins. And we both – hated it. It was so boring. And then we saw First Class, and we all loved it. It's to this day one of my favorite superhero films ever.
So
I love that movie. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And so what I was actually really pumped for Days of Future Past because I know they kept a lot of what Matthew Vaughn wanted to do, story-wise, and they brought back Bryan Singer.
Part of the reason I think that works is for some reason the X-Men characters in the 60s and the 70s seems to work really well. They seem to work much better then than they do if they're set in modern times for some reason. I don't know why, but for some reason it seems to work.
I think it's because X-Men are just kind of retro characters. X-Men works best, when you look at the classic retro kind of cheesy nature of it. The 90s cartoon works so best because it's so 90s. It's so cheesy, so X-Men First Class, when it comes to the 60s, it's it's a little bit cheesy. There's some chewing the scenery going on here, but it works because it's a lot of fun. But it's also really emotionally invested. That scene where Xavier makes Eric turn the satellite dish, It makes him see, his vision of Hanukkah or whatever, and it's just
You're
everything
right.
like.
When was the last time we got something that good in any of the other movies?
Yeah, but people, when they saw Days of Future Past, everyone loved it. And I understand why they loved it. It's a very well-made movie, like technically wise.
Yeah.
Everyone's great in it. My main problem with Days of Future Past is that it just didn't have that wow factor.
Yeah.
It didn't have those moments where I went, oh my god, the quick service scenes are great, but that's 3 minutes out of the 2.5-hour movie. It's like, it didn't have that scene on the plane between Professor X and Magneto, when he's like, you could have protected them, Charles, but you abandoned them. I wanted more of that, because that's the dynamic we came to see. We didn't come to see Wolverine and all those guys. We were okay with not seeing them anymore.
Yeah.
So
we were already invested in the new sort of younger versions that Vaughn set up. Yeah,
exactly.
I suppose it was good to say goodbye to all the others, even though we didn't need to, because they got the whole thing of rebooting the timeline, even though it was already rebooted. It's frustrating, but and I've copped a lot of heat for this, because I've said 90% of that movie was already made by Matthew Vaughn, and Bryan Singer kind of just showed up at the last minute and directed it. And a lot of the stuff that Bryan Singer changed, it was actually better in Vaughn's version. We do like the Quicksilver scene. I'm not going to say the Quicksilver scene isn't great, because it is. But in Matthew Vaughn's version, that was going to be Juggernaut. So he was going to be crashing through all the walls to escape, which wouldn't have been as spectacular as that Quicksilver scene where he's running and time freezes, but it would have made a lot more sense, because we're all like, well, Quicksilver can just take out anyone. See, that made more sense. And in Vaughn's script,
I can,
it was,
and
in
Vaughn's, it would nice to see a a kind of a good take on that character of Juggernaut, because we saw him in Last Stand. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, and he was going to make it that Magneto actually did kill JFK, and then Bryan Singer changed it that he was trying to save him. Again, Matthew Vaughn's one makes a lot more sense, because at the end of First Class, everybody, including the American military, tries to shoot the mutants, and that was during the Cuban Missile Crisis. So if JFK was a mutant, as Bryan Singer changed it to in Days of Future Past, then why did he try to kill all the mutants on the beach if he himself was one? It makes so much more sense that Magneto... He's like, you guys, you tried to kill me all on the beach, so I'm going to go and assassinate the president to get you guys back. That makes so much more sense than him trying to bend the bullet out of the president's way. And so I think Bryan Singer really hurt that more than helped it. And I think Apocalypse is a chance for him to show that he still has something good to offer, because I don't really think he does, to be honest.
I probably like Days of Future Past more than you did. I don't know. When it ended, I was like, yeah, that was good. That was good.
I did like it. I did like it. But
yeah.
I think most of the good stuff was Matthew Vaughn and not Bryan Singer. And
I'll give you that.
Yeah,
I feel.
Here's the thing. Can I just say one thing? Sorry, I'm ranting.
No.
See, I just did the rant video, so I've got a lot of this still in my head. But Bryan Singer, right?
Yeah.
X-Men 1, he does the love triangle, okay, between Wolverine and Grey and Cyclops. X-Men 2 continues with love triangle. He leaves, he goes and does Superman Returns, and he puts a love triangle in it. Then that bombs, he goes and he does Jack and the Beanstalk, and he decides he's going to put in a love triangle.
Never saw it.
Then when he comes back and he goes and he does X-Men Days of Future Past, what does he put in there at the end? Oh, the old love triangle from the first 2 X-Men. Stop doing love triangles, Bryan Singer. It's not as interesting as you think it is. Let's just keep an eye out for the love triangle in X-Men Apocalypse. That's all I'm saying.
I was gonna make a really, really bad joke, but I'm gonna take the high road and not make that joke.
Well, see, now you have to, because I'm kind of curious about it.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm going to take the high road.
Come on.
Even though Bryan Singer took the low road, I'm going to take the high road. That's as far as
you were
going to
mention the some of the controversy around him. Oh,
yes,
probably
that's
good you avoid that. Yeah,
that's as far as I'll go. I refuse. I refuse. No, but with in Days of Future Past, look, it's like I said, everyone's great in it. It's well shot. I just wanted more Professor X and Magneto, less Mystique. I didn't like the focus on Mystique plot. Not that I think Jennifer Lawrence is bad in those movies. I think she's good in those movies. I think that I don't think Mystique is that interesting enough of a character for her to focus on, because she really only has one trait that entire movie, which is angst, which is pretty much Jennifer Lawrence's only trait. But that being said, the X-Men Apocalypse trailer. So right at the start, right when Sansa Stark, right when Jean Grey is having a wake up dream and she's talking. I won't lie. The first thing I thought is, Oh, it's Sansa. It's Sansa.
Yeah,
What's she
me
doing?
too.
Oh, that's Jean Grey. Yeah, Sophie Turner. Way to really break down that performance.
Yeah, and I love that she's like, oh, I've seen this vision of the future where everyone's dying. And Professor Xavier, always the open-minded man who believes in everything, is just like, nah, it's a dream. Don't pay any attention. Yeah, I'm sure Professor X would do exactly that.
I think he was trying to calm her down, Ben. He's trying to be like,
yeah, I know.
Easy.
I'm being
But
overly critical. Oh, by
you
the way,
are.
just one quick bit of trivia. Xavier and Magneto, their world outlook was based on Martin Luther King and Malcolm X.
Yeah.
So Magneto is the Malcolm X, and Xavier is the Martin Luther King. They're both, where they both wanted like unity between blacks and whites, but yeah, Malcolm X had like a more aggressive way to do it, and Martin Luther King had the more peaceful way. So I thought that was interesting when I found that out.
I can just picture someone in the comments now. Everybody knew that being the world news here. Oh my God.
It was new to me.
Was it really? Was it really?
Yes. Well, I don't read the comics, so I picked it up with Comic for Girl 19's video.
I got it back in like 2011. That's beyond the point. I just don't worry about it. Okay,
Sure.
we're all
Anyway, never mind.
No,
I guarantee
you're
you
fine.
someone's listening is like, oh, I didn't know that.
Exactly, but I can picture the comments now because I've gotten those comments before. Actually, I thought the trailer was just meh, and we're gonna be hearing that word a lot through these trailers. Just meh. I mean, I still don't like the look of Apocalypse, and I think it's really shady of them to try and hide him in the shadows. Now that we know that we don't like that look, and in response to the people who say when that Entertainment Weekly picture or whatever came out, and it was him in that purple Ivan Ooze makeup, and everyone was like, he's gonna be color corrected in the movie, and I'm like, well, is he? Because if you look on the cover of the Entertainment Weekly magazine, he looks how he looks in the trailer. I think, and I don't like the voice of the Apocalypse. I think just
no, but
something about it
you
just
see, Trey,
seems off.
he evolves. Every time he dies, he comes back, so he's probably going to look totally different. And no, it's probably what he's going to look like. It's like with Tuesday. Oh, he's going to look different. He's going to look like
Way to throw my argument back at me, man. No, I feel like Apocalypse is not going to look. He might be a great villain, but right now he seems really, really like similar to Ronan from Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm gonna scream at the sky and destroy the world. And I don't know. This is a weird scene, Fantastic Four, Avengers style world destruction in an X-Men movie. It doesn't seem fitting to this franchise. I don't know.
Yeah, so a solid meh rating. That's what I give it too. Shall we move on to another meh trailer?
Yeah,
like Star Trek Beyond.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, let's go. Okay, I'm giving that you like the other trailers better than this then.
Well, I actually the one that got me most excited was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is weird because I didn't see the first movie. Still haven't seen it.
Me too. Oh, I had a really good time, but we'll get to that one next. Okay, let's do Star Trek Beyond, or as I call it, Star Trek Fast and Furious. That's exactly what this is. That is exact. Justin Lin, how dare you take Star Trek and turn it into Fast and Furious? I was okay with JJ turning it into Star Wars, but you don't take your booty shaking slow motion action hot women nonsense and bring that over into Star Trek. We're too smart for that, Justin Lin. Don't make Star Trek stupid. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, poor old Star Trek. But I mean, Star Trek movies are a little bit like the X-Men movies. They're very hit and miss. And a common joke amongst Trekkies like myself is that all the odd-numbered movies are terrible and all the even-numbered movies are good. Like 2, 4, 6, they're all good.
Well,
so, I mean,
six is hit and miss.
Well, well, that's for another time, I guess. But like if we take 09 as a good one and Into Darkness as a bad one, then we should be due for another good one. If that rule of every second one being good holds up. Yeah. So I guess we'll see.
Well, wait, because Star Trek 09 was the good one in my opinion. Into Darkness was the terrible one.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
So
that means because
it's flipped. It's flipped now. It's flipped now.
Anyway,
my point is that I don't have faith in this director because I liked Fast 5, but I think that's because it had that perfect balance of ridiculousness that we had never seen in a Fast and Furious movie before, and by the time we got to 6, I was just like, I'm bored. But with this, my main problem with Into Darkness is that I just felt like I was watching a generic action movie. You know, for that, at least after the first 10 or so minutes. That first 10 minutes is spectacular, but everything after that for me just really kind of fell apart. Plus the whole I'm Khan but I'm not Khan nonsense that we won't get into here.
And they wasted Klingons. That's one of the things I talked about in my video. They wasted Klingons because, like, the thing with this trailer of Star Trek Beyond that got me is nothing really pops. Nothing really makes you go, whoa! Like, if they had not shown Klingons, if they had not had Klingons in the story for Star Trek Into Darkness, and we saw Klingons for the first time in this, I think that would have given us a moment where we go, yeah, Klingons! But there's nothing in it that really pops. It just shows you it's going to be a fun space adventure, and that's about all it shows you. Who's the main villain? Don't know. Probably the guy with the blue face.
It's the first movie. It's the first trailer. You're being too critical. It's the first trailer. It's the first trailer, Bandit. It's okay. That's all right. All we got was
that is how I talk. Yeah.
This is going to be.
It's a
which according to this means it's going to.
How do you talk again?
Which according to this,
baby, how's it going?
It's the first trailer. You gotta be like a little Mike Tyson list.
Yeah.
It's and granted, teasers are to give you the tone of the movie, and according to this trailer, the tone's going to be action movie, generic, Fast and Furious with. That's really what I saw here. I was like, this is Fast and Furious with Star Trek. And the CG looks really bad. There's a shot where Simon Pegg jumps out of this thing and lands on this cliff, and it all looks just meh.
Mind you, this. On the plus side, they have avoided many pot holes that I think, like they didn't try to shove in the Borg. They didn't try to have William Shatner appear. So, they've avoided a few potholes like that, but they still need to show us what they actually do have rather than what they avoided, They have Idris Elba, who they're going to waste, because they always waste their villains. Yeah.
Yeah.
Idris Elba in the blue makeup with the weird face, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be just like, bloody what's his face from Thor: The Dark World, Malekith.
Yeah, he probably will be.
Yeah, just pointless.
Apparently, the first draft of the script with Simon Pegg, who was co-writing, it got rewritten because the studios thought it was, quote, too Star Trek-y.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly my point.
Great. That's fantastic. Ugh.
No faith. Hashtag no faith. Hashtag all hope is lost. I can't do this anymore. No.
I still hold out a bit of hope just because the trailer was so thin. We don't really know much as to what the actual story is going to be or whatever. So I think it's a little bit too soon to lose all hope, but it's certainly not a good start from what we've seen. You lost all
hope for Batman Superman before the trailer even came out.
Because Jesse Eisenberg was cast, and I was like, Jesse Eisenberg is going to be a bumbling idiot, Jesse Eisenberg, and everyone's like, no, he's not. He's going to play something totally different than just his usual Jesse Eisenberg. And congrats, you guys, you were totally right about that.
Yeah, no, but listen, Justin Lin.
Sorry, I'm very snarky today. I feel like I'm really snarky. I don't know why.
We're all a little tired today. If I sound cranky, I'm a little tired. Don't worry about it. Justin Lin is the director of this movie. Just for fun's sake, let's pull up the filmography here on my iPhone 6 product placement. Let's pull up the filmography of Justin Lin here. Buying some time, Justin Lin. Justin Lin. He has directed films such as come on, guy. All right, he directed Fast and Furious 6, Fast 5, Fast and Furious, and Annapolis, and Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. So the casting of Justin Lin as a director it set a precedent for me. I was just like, I don't like where they're taking this movie. And then, they told Simon Pegg that the Star Trek movie was going to be a Star Trek movie was going to be too Star Trek-y. Oh, God forbid.
Could you imagine if someone said that with Force Awakens? Oh, we had to change the script because it was too Star Warsy. Could you imagine the uproar that would happen if somebody said
Mickey Mouse's head would be on a spike. Oh my God.
We'd be burning effigies of Mickey Mouse right now.
Yes. all I hear in the background was, Trey, I told you so. I told you so. Because I was always an advocate of Disney's not going to mess this up, and then I'd just be like, I told you so. No, it's just I've lost maybe not all faith, but I've lost a lot of faith.
And the thing is, it's really not that difficult. Just get a couple of writers who are good at sci-fi. All the Star Trek movie needs to be, they're flying into space, they come across some weird anomaly, and they conflict with these aliens, and then they end up fixing the anomaly while learning to cooperate with these aliens. That's all you need to do. That's what Star Trek is. Okay?
But Brandon, that would be too formulaic.
Not that hard.
Brandon, that's too formulaic. What we really needed in Star Trek is a lot of booty shaking, a lot of slow motion, a lot of fast cars. That's what
Well, it wouldn't
need.
really be formulaic because we've never seen that with these new movies yet. So it would
That's
actually
true.
be breaking the
That's
mold by going back to
entirely
the
true.
mold.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, Independence Day Resurgence. Let's go to that one.
Now let me ask you before you say anything, because I'm curious, because like an old grandpa like me who saw the first movie when it came out, you're the younger gen, so do you feel any kind of connection to the original movie, or do you look at this trailer as its own thing?
In terms of my connection to the old movie, I think it's a great movie. Great in the same way I think the first Transformers is a great movie.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it up there with Dark Knight or Godfather or anything like that, but it's definitely up there as a movie where I can sit down and just have the time of my life watching it. It's so stupid, it's so ridiculous, but it's so awesome.
Because I
such
feel
America.
like the things that were good in this depended on you having that nostalgic connection to the first movie. So I thought a lot of like your sort of age group who might not have that kind of connection to it might just look at this and go, it's just another battleship or whatever. Is that sort of how you felt about it?
That was my reaction. It's my thoughts. It's my thoughts too, but also at the same time, I felt like they were just doing Independence Day again, just remaking it bigger and better, or better in the sense of that the effects look better. But
You're exactly right, because I found because I was going to do a how to do it video. And I went and I found like interviews and stuff, and it basically told me the whole plot. And I actually did find a quote from either the director or someone high up involved in it who basically did just say that. We're just retelling the same story again with some new elements. So you're 100% right, because even the director, or I can't remember the quote exactly, but
the big difference is that we're not going to have the Fresh Prince to get us through this, though. We're not going to have someone as charismatic and just as enticing to watch on screen as mid-90s Will Smith, because we'll have Jeff Goldblum in Independence Day, Chaos Theory, but we'll have Liam Hemsworth, who's generic beefcake number 4, and then we'll have token black guy number 3, and Jeff what's his name? What's his bloody name? I forget his name. The president, Bill Pullman. There we go. Yeah. So we'll have Bill Pullman there, but
there's some cool things like again, this is something I mentioned in my video, but who cares if I'm just saying the same thing again? But like in the original script, it was going to be Brent Spiner's character, who was he was the weirdo scientist guy who was operating on the aliens, and he got sort of mind controlled and thrown against the glass with the tentacle around his neck. Release me. He was that guy. He didn't die. He just kind of slid down the glass and the alien got shot. They were going to bring in him as that he's kind of now got a split personality because of that, where he's a human, but then he can switch and be in the alien mode. Based off the trailer, it looks like they've swapped him out for Bill Pullman, the president, for the same role. Because it looks like he's locked up behind plate glass. So, see, now that's kind of cool that the old president has kind of got half the alien's brain in him. So he can just suddenly snap and be like, I will kill you all. And he can be like the voice of the aliens.
Yeah,
see, that's a cool idea.
I'd had faith, Bandit, if it wasn't for Roland Emmerich. Because Roland Emmerich has not made a good movie since 1996. So, right.
And we mentioned before that they might have a lesbian president in this.
I almost swore, I really don't care.
Yeah, it
I don't
seems
give
very
a rat's tail.
strange that they put it in. I mean, fine, but why?
Who cares?
It's Independence Day, who cares? Yeah.
It is 2016. Move on.
Yeah,
anyways.
It feels like they're just like, look at us.
Oh, God.
We're controversial. No, not really.
I'm going to get hate comments now. Trey's a sexist. He hates gay people. Jesus Christ. All right, we're not doing this again.
Sorry, everyone. We're being really, really negative, both of us today, aren't we?
Well, just these trailers
really
all
tired.
suck.
I'm in a
That's
hot room
why.
because I can't turn the fan.
No worry. Once we get to Christopher Nolan, we're going to get to do some praising here. But
okay,
these trailers are all terrible. Let's get. I want to talk about Game of Thrones in a little bit, and once we get to that, we're going to get to do some praise work here.
Well, should we cover the trailer we both kind of liked, or like TMNT, or did you want to say more about Independence Day?
Just with Independence Day, just to finish up here. And Roland Emmerich hasn't done a good movie since 1996, which was Independence Day. So maybe returning to this franchise will be his thing. But with Roland Emmerich, the trailers always look cool. Like, do you remember the trailer for 2012? That first teaser where it's those
really
guys. Good. Yeah, where it's those guys over the mountains and like the water's just going over them, and you're just like, oh, that looks awesome. And it did look awesome in the movie. But in between that, we had to deal with, John Cusack's idiot dad character who survives everything, and the idiot Chiwetel Ejiofor character, and the actually right Oliver Platt government agent who everyone thought was supposed to be a bad guy. When in reality, I'd agree with him.
Yeah,
I'd be like, no, leave me behind. Take the world leaders. I'll be fine. I'll make it. Leave me behind. You know
what? Roland Emmerich, all his movies, like, he's one of those directors that is a fluke of the time period that he was in the same kind of way that Arnold Schwarzenegger, he became famous in the 80s. He could not have become famous in any other time period but the 80s. Same way Roland Emmerich, he became famous for these big special effects, wow cinema pieces at a time when special effects still wowed audiences. That's why he became famous. Nobody cares about special effects anymore. He doesn't have that to fall back on. He doesn't have the Will Smith, charisma factor to fall back on now. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, all he really has to impress people is the story, and the story is the same as before. So I don't think people are really going to like this at all.
It's like proportions, Bandit. I'm learning about proportions and geometry. It's like proportions, really. Take Spielberg and Roland Emmerich. Both made big, successful film in the mid-'90s that had a lot to do with spectacle. Independence Day and Jurassic Park. However, while both are still looked at as being great-ish movies, both are now having reboots in the modern day, done by done by for a new audience. Spielberg had Jurassic World, which I hated, and now Roland Emmerich is doing Independence Day Resurgence. So I don't have a lot of hope for this, because if the law of diminishing returns is anything, it's going to be crap, because you can't do movies, and it's going to be kind of racist too. Oh boy, don't worry, we'll do an episode on it, I guess. Sure. Moving on to Ninja Turtles. Let's do Ninja Turtles.
Yes. How much fun did this look? It looks so much fun.
Yes, exactly. This looks like a live-action cartoon. I love it. I love it.
That's how it should be.
Thank you.
There's certain brands, like all movies require some suspension of disbelief. There's certain brands that you can get away with a lot more. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is not only can you get away with more unbelievable stuff, you're actually encouraged to go more wacky and out there because of the very nature of Ninja Turtles. And from what I heard, that was one of the big problems with the last one. They were afraid to sort of open it up and embrace the universe. I'm so glad it looks like they finally are. We're probably going to get Krang in this, or at least a tease for him, which is great. I love Krang. Krang is fantastic.
What I want. Give me some Krang, give me some Utron, maybe. Oh my god.
Just a big drooling brain going blah, blah, blah,
yes.
Blah, blah. That's what I want.
Okay, so I saw the first Ninja Turtles movie. I grew up in this weird time in where I was not old enough to experience a lot of the resurgence of the cartoons. I had to watch a lot of like the 2000s cartoons later on in life, like when I was like 5 or 6, because they came out when I was 1 to 3 years old. I did watch Ninja Turtles though. I watched all the old Ninja Turtles cartoons. I saw the movies. I saw the 2003 series. I've seen a bit of the new series, and it's great. And then I saw this new movie that came out last year, and everyone was saying the same thing. It sucks. It's terrible. Why would they do this Ninja Turtles? And I saw it, and I said, I pretty much just saw a remake of the original 1990 movie. And people were like, how dare you? This movie, I'm like, I gave it a B-. People were like, how dare you? I'm like, I liked it. I thought it was well, I wouldn't say well made. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was stupid and ridiculous, but that's what Ninja Turtles is all about. It's supposed to be stupid and ridiculous. It's not supposed to be Oscar-winning material. It's like that movie San Andreas with The Rock. You're supposed to go in and want to see something completely ridiculous, but still of at least some good quality. You're still supposed to be entertained by it, which I guess is why Transformers doesn't work anymore. And this looks like just to be more of the same, but heightened. They got Bebop and Rocksteady. There's a scene in the first one with the elevator that I don't know if you've seen, but it's so awesome. I've ever seen it at a theater and people clapped. People were like, "That's Ninja Turtles," and so I'm happy that we're gonna get some more ridiculousness here. Tyler Perry looks like he's having the time of his life, so that's awesome.
I don't know if you've seen what's his name? Andre the Black Nerd.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
In his video about this, he's like, if I put on a white coat, I'd look exactly like that.
Mm-hmm. He needs to be in one of these movies one of these days, whether it be Ninja Turtles or Smurfs or He-Man.
Even if he's just an extra, that'd be great.
Yeah, like they put Kasim G in Transformers. Why can't they put Black Nerd in one of these movies? Please. Yeah. Please put him in one of these. Jesus.
He could play
He'd
Tyler
love
Perry's
it. He'd
son,
have the time of his life.
Or,
Thank you. Or
his younger brother or something.
He can voice a Smurf in the new animated movie or something. I don't know. This guy is. I remember I've been watching Black Nerd for like years. Like back before he was on like this show called Movie Mob back in 2008. I've been watching him for so long. It's so great to see him doing well. Anyways, I love the trailer. Any further thoughts on the trailer, Bandit?
No, I'm just really glad that they've also fixed like a lot of the issues people had, like the horrible noses of their designs. They fixed them. They look more colourful. They've changed the outfits a bit, and I like it. Yeah, who's your favorite Ninja Turtle?
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. I'll give you the color thing. I like that they look a lot more brighter green, even though turtles traditionally are darker green. But whatever. And also with the whole nose thing, I'm like, whatever, get over it.
Also, Johnny Knoxville's gone. He's not voicing Leonardo anymore. That's good.
Good,
because he obviously had no respect for the characters at all, which he said repeatedly and publicly that he put no effort whatsoever into it.
He stuck out like a sore thumb in the movie.
Yeah, he's like, I just went out there and did my hillbilly voice. It's like, we can tell. Tell.
My favorite Ninja Turtle, for a long time was Donatello.
Really, that was my favorite too.
For a long time was Donatello, just because I'm like, he's the nerdy. Because on the playground, we were all kind of nerds. But like I said, growing up, I was C-3PO. I was the prissy one. I was the more just like, don't get me dirty. And I was the geeky one. I was one that was all into Batman and all that. So I just, But
I always kind of liked him, not so much for the nerdy bit, but more he was sort of like the peacemaker among the brothers. Yeah, he was always kind of more relaxed and like. If all his brothers weren't like into crime fighting, he probably wouldn't be into crime fighting. His weapon is the only one that's non-lethal, really. Like even though they never really stab, or I suppose Michelangelo's as well. But he's got kind of he's like Morgan. He's got a staff, not a sword. He's always kind of peaceful. Yeah, I like Donatello.
Yeah, but nowadays I think my favorite, especially in this movie, was Raphael. This new movie, Raphael. I love me. He's the bruiser. He's the tough guy. He's kind of the Han Solo of the group. He's the rebel. He's like, I gotta fight for my brothers. I'm like, Raphael. I like Raphael nowadays.
Yeah. I know everyone calls Leonardo the boring one, but he's a very important part in the team.
He's a leader.
Yeah, you need a leader who's kind of boring like that, but you need someone to balance out all the crazy personalities of the others. So you need someone who's like the center. He does that, but he's
it's like calling Luke Skywalker boring. You're like, well, no, he's the one that has to kind of put everything. He's our hero. Yeah. It's
like in comedy. You can have the funny guy and the straight man. You need to have a straight man to be the butt of the joke.
Exactly.
So,
otherwise, it's Dumb and Dumber 2.
Yeah. Another movie I haven't seen, but.
It's terrible.
I don't plan on ever seeing it.
No, don't you ever. Please, don't accept yourself.
That's another movie that I saw it when it came out, but I don't feel any interest in seeing the reboot. That's a common thing with a lot of these, isn't it?
Yeah.
Independence Day, Ninja Turtles, Dumb and Dumber.
How weird is it that we got another X-Men trailer, another Independence Day trailer, another Star Trek trailer? Things that have been around forever, since before either of us was born.
Yeah.
And the thing that got us most excited was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. Michael Bay's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
Yeah.
How crazy is that? That's I don't know. Maybe it speaks for how much crap is in Hollywood right now. Maybe that's why
I think it's like Michael Bay is like if a movie is a meal, Michael Bay is like the spice that you add. You sprinkle in a little to give it a zap, but you don't want to drown it in the spice because then it will kill the meal. So I think that's the thing. Like Transformers, like he's drowned the meal in spice. They just sprinkle a little bit of Bay on, and it's good.
And by spice, of course, we mean slow motion booty shaking racism, of course. That's what we mean when we say spice.
The frat boyisms.
Yeah, and speaking of booty shaking, how about that shot in the trailer where they just randomly cut to Megan Fox like undressing her?
Yeah, just one shot where she's walking and all of a sudden she just
I'm
ties
like,
her shirt and you see her gut, and it's like, oh, okay.
I'm like,
gotta
are
show
we
a bit
just-
of Megan Fox skin.
I mean, I understand. I'm sure there's some 10 or 11-year-old boys who are going to be watching this movie and are going to be like, huh, kind of like with Carrie Fisher in Return of the Jedi, where they're just like, huh, Now in 30 years they're going to be like, oh man, Megan Fox in Ninja Turtles, that was the thing, and then she's going to be all old and
Yeah, I'm
crazy
certainly
and
not
cocaine.
complaining. I mean,
No,
if you got Megan Fox there for, what else is she gonna do? Act?
No, she's
No, I mean, come on.
Oh, of course not. Next
What
thing
else are you
they're
gonna do with
win a
it?
vote.
You're not
that's
getting her
gonna
for her acting abilities. That's fine. So
No, we
use
need,
her what
if we
she's
need
there
a
for.
lamp. If we need a lamp, we'll go find Megan Fox. Okay. Bandit, we didn't have any homework, but I'd like to talk about some things on our homework assignment.
This week, each one of you has a homework assignment. You're gonna go out, you're gonna start a fight with a total stranger. You're gonna start a fight, and you're gonna lose.
All right, Bandit. So, wrap-up time. I've seen some TV. You've seen some TV. Let's go. What do you got to say?
Well, I following on from was it last week or the week before? I can't remember.
It was
But we
it
talked about
was
Jessica
it was a
Jones.
couple of weeks, I think. No, it was last week.
Last week, yeah. Well, whenever it was, we talked about Jessica Jones, and you'd seen the whole season. I'd only seen up to episode 5, and I was basically saying that it was really boring and it was so slow, and that I wasn't really interested in watching the rest. I did watch the rest, and man, does it pick up in that second half. That second half is so much better than the first one.
Well, pick up is a relative term, but I'll let you explain it. You got to see it.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still got its problems, but much more Killian, much more stuff was actually happening.
Kilgrave.
And
It's Kilgrave.
Sorry, Killian. What am I talking about?
Stuck in the MCU, are we?
Yeah, and it was great back when in those last 2 episodes when the nurse
Spoilers.
from Daredevil shows up.
Spoilers.
Oh, well, that's not really a spoiler that she shows up, but
Yeah.
but it's fantastic. Really, really good. Little bit strange, the ending. But so much better in the second half. I think because it was 13 episodes long that season. If they had cut the fat and just made it 6 episodes or 10 episodes, would have been absolutely amazing. But boy,
if this was 8 to 10 episodes, perfect.
yeah,
Perfect.
would have been fantastic. But man, they sure took their sweet time in getting to the good stuff, didn't they?
I think the last 2 episodes are such a weak ending to that season. I really was not a fan of the last 2 episodes.
I'm going to avoid spoilers, but I did like how she sort of coaxed Kilgrave into coming in close. I won't spoil the ending, but I did like how she did that. That was interesting.
I don't like how Kilgrave was handled. I thought
it was
very
just
much
kind of like, oh,
yeah, it's there. You're just like, well, that's it. Okay. Also,
I
scene
think
where
considering everything. Sorry to keep interrupting you.
No.
But considering all the horrible things Kilgrave had done, if that was going to be when he finally gets justice, I would have liked if it was a bit more satisfying. Just it's over.
And I personally wouldn't have liked to see him get the justice he got. Maybe just have him go to a certain place and not end up on the floor. Anyways, I just there's a block of
lock him up in that soundproof booth.
Thank you.
Come on.
Good God. Speaking of that soundproof booth, those episodes where he's in there, those 2-3 episodes where he's in there, and the episode where he's takes Jessica to a certain house, I think is the best block of episodes in the season.
Yeah.
I think those are the best episodes of the season. I think that's what I wanted from the show, because it's not necessarily a superhero show, but it has that kind of backdrop of this is a comic book. It felt very much in those episodes kind of like Watchmen, where you're watching this and just I feel like I could be reading this. And that ultimately is where the show failed for me because, like we said before, it doesn't know what it wants to be. Sometimes it wants to be a detective show. Sometimes it wants to be, a noir. Sometimes it wants to be a superhero show. And sometimes it wants to be a boring drama. And I don't buy into that.
But that's true. That's true. I mean, that's a problem. Hopefully they'll iron it out a bit more in the next season. And I'm really looking forward to Daredevil season 2. A
Oh,
lot more
yes.
though. I won't lie to you. But Kilgrave,
Yes.
yeah, he was great, and I think it was funny that he was such a horrendously evil character, yet he still actually, like, a lot of the big laughs I got from him. Like,
Yes.
even though he's,
I
love that bit where he says to
Yeah.
Jessica Jones, he's like, I have to be so careful what I
Yes.
say. He goes, I
Yeah.
once told a man to go screw himself. Could you
Imagine that. Imagine that.
Just stuff like
I
that.
was just about to say, yes.
Yeah,
Oh my
where
god.
he casually turns to that guy who's hassling him at the newsstand. He's like, grab that coffee, throw it in your face. And he just does.
Put a bullet in your skull, Patsy. I love.
Yeah, she's trying to that was
Oh my
clever as
God.
well. She's trying to
That's one of
try to push the bullet into her head.
Jessica
Jessica Jones is like, put it in your
be
mouth. There, it's in your head. Yeah.
That might be one of the best moments of the entire show ever. Is when he's like, "Put a bullet in your skull." It's just like, God, put the gun to her head. And just God. This is that whole breakout sequence was wonderful. Kilgrave, I think maybe that's why I wanted him to not have his story resolved the way it does. Just because I think he's one of the best villains the MCU has ever had. Just because he's such a broken character, but he's so much fun to watch. Whenever he was on screen, I instantly got excited. Like, here we go. You know.
Yeah, they could have made it like he was locked in like a soundproof booth, and maybe like he communicates like he can type into a text, so you can still have conversations and stuff. But I would have liked it to see like him and maybe Kingpin locked up, side by side. Like, that'd be great.
That would be so awesome. To see a conversation between him and Kingpin. Oh my god.
I know, because in the later they start to expand it where he can control people through the phone and that. It would have been good if they got rid of that, so you could still just keep him in that cell and he can just talk over the speaker. That would have been fantastic.
I think the show tried to get too big. I think, for what the show was setting up for the first few episodes, trying to suddenly say, now you can control the entire city, whatever. I'm like, well, no, that doesn't work. But I'm glad you enjoyed it more than I did. A lot of people are loving this show, and the biggest thing I've seen from the people that are like, I love this Marvel show, I love this superhero show because it doesn't feel like a superhero show, and I hate that argument so much. I hate that so much. Like, then why are you watching a Marvel show if you don't like superhero shows? That gets
but it does make me wonder, like, unless they're going to have a crossover with Daredevil in the next season, I don't know how they could possibly do anything that would be as entertaining as Kilgrave.
No.
So I think it's all downhill from here, unless she joins up with Daredevil pretty much immediately.
Yeah, and I do you want the Daredevil? Do you want anyone from Netflix to cross over into the Avengers or any of the Marvel stuff?
I want to say yes, but at the same time, I kind of feel like with WWE fans, it's a little bit like someone from the NXT minor league roster getting moved up to the main roster. It often ruins their career, because when they're in the smaller league, they're special and they're unique, but once they go up, they become part of this big corporate machine, and whatever uniqueness they had gets drained away. So, like, on the one hand, I'd like to see Daredevil talk to like Iron Man or whatever, but at the same time, if he does move up into that league, he's just going to become part of this big machine. So I'd really rather keep them in the Netflix universe, if we want to call it that.
I'd like to see,
because that feels special.
Just because they have different kind of styles, and I think that those styles can mesh really well.
They're supposed to be street level.
That's what I'm getting at here. That's what I'm getting at. If you give me a minute here, that's what I'm getting at here. Like, no, you're fine. No, you're fine. I wasn't trying to be snarky. Excuse me.
It's the snarky day for us.
I'm tired, man. The action in Winter Soldier, I think, is the closest we've gotten to really good action in the MCU. That being said, it's nothing compared to what we saw in Daredevil and what we're going to see in Iron Fist. The action, the action in Winter Soldier is great, but it's still that shaky cam. It's still that jump cut. With Daredevil, it's a lot more still shots of just people beating the piss out of each other, and it's so awesome. So I'd like to see that move over also, and I really want to see this. I want to see Daredevil's Kingpin fight Spider-Man. Because Kingpin and Spider-Man have always been a dynamic that I love to see when I'm reading a comic book or seeing the cartoons. And so to see this Kingpin fight a Spider-Man with the MCU's tone. I'm so excited to see if they can pull that up. That's one of the main reasons I want to see this crossover. Plus, Daredevil and Spider-Man are also a really good dynamic of this kid trying to make it and be like, hey, Daredevil is kind of, I don't want to say a father figure, but kind of like a big brother, in which he's just like, we have to be good in justice, and all that good stuff. And Peter Parker's just this teenager kid who just thinks this is all fun and games. There are some dynamics in there that I think can really cross over well. I like to see maybe Hawkeye join them, but since Hawkeye has the whole farm thing, never mind. But I don't know. I think there's some dynamics and crossover that can, just because crossing them over into the Avengers doesn't necessarily mean putting him in Infinity War. I think that this can work.
I don't know. That's right. Yeah. Well, I noticed that. On our Movie Mania podcast page on Facebook, a lot of people gave you homework assignment, Trey.
Yes.
I don't know which one you picked, or if you just didn't do any of it.
I didn't do anything. I didn't do any of it yet, just because I've got winter. Hey, shut up! Look, listen.
No,
all right,
it's fine.
I've got
winter break.
You're
busy. I know.
I've got 3 projects due in less than 48 hours.
Yeah.
I've got winter break is coming up over here in the States, which is 2 weeks in which we get off for Christmas and New Year's. And so I'm going to use a lot of that time to both film my UIL film, I'll continue working on projects, and watch things I need to watch, and watch a lot of movies. And speaking of watching things, Bandit, I have just finished season 2 of Game of Thrones, and
only season 2. Wow, yeah.
It might be my favorite show on television right now.
Yeah.
And please, for God's, I'm talking to you, Bandit. No spoilers.
No, I won't give any spoilers.
I am halfway through episode 1 of season 3.
Just help me with the spoilers. Just let me know what part you're up to, so I know not to go past it. Like
Tyrion and spoilers for everyone on Game of Thrones. Tyrion has just spoken.
What, season
to
2?
Bronn.
Everyone's already seen it.
Yeah, okay. I'm just saying Tyrion has spoken to Bronn, and he's like, "Yo, Bronn, I need you to still be my guard." And Bronn's like, "Screw you! I need to be paid double." That's as far as I've gotten. So it's still early on, like through, I think halfway through episode 1 of season 3. Right. But Game of Thrones, this so good. Yeah. It's just, I don't know it's something about it. I love me some Tyrion Lannister.
Absolutely.
Oh my god.
Oh, you got to catch up before the new season starts.
That's my plan. That's my plan. I'm pretty sure I can knock these all out over the break.
Just let you know, like the latest season, the one that just finished, that's the first season where they've just overtaken the books. And the drop in story quality is significant. Like a lot of the TV stuff comes in, and just lower your expectations a lot for the latest season when you get to it.
That's a shame.
But everything before it is fantastic because it's based off the books that what's his name,
George R. R. Martin.
George R. R. Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he spent like half his life crafting those books, so of course it's going to be a fantastic story.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some decisions in that last season that you just go, oh, come on. But
what Dinklage has done, what Dinklage did in that role of Tyrion Lannister, I didn't think that anyone could match what Robert Downey Jr. did with the role of Tony Stark, and what Harrison Ford has done with Han Solo. Yeah. In that kind of he's an a-hole, but he's so lovable as it. But then you meet Tyrion Lannister, and you're just like, I found another one. There is another. Oh my! And he's he's
like the Brad Pitt of little people now.
Oh my God! Yes,
everybody loves him.
Yes, he's like Brad Pitt in Fight Club. He's just a scumbag, but we love him. He's so awesome, and yet he has kind of a heart of gold because the rest of his family are such big douches, and that he's just like, I have to. He's like, I think he says it to what's his face, to his prostitute lady in season 2. He's like, I can't leave. I'm surrounded by horrible people. I love talking to them. I love outsmarting them. It's what I live for. Yeah, and
I kind of envy you because there's some, like, I won't spoil anything, but there's some fantastic moments for him coming up, and I envy you that you get to experience them again.
From what I have been told, that there's something big that happens in season 3, and I'm really scared because I think I know what it is, but I don't want it to happen. Like when Ned Stark died, I cried. I legit cried. I felt like
even though he's Sean Bean, so he's gonna die.
I know, but I had faith. I'm like, you know what? I think Sean Bean's got this. I should have known too because he's not in any other promo besides season 1. But like, dude, when that sword goes through Sean Bean's head, I was just like,
yeah,
Joffrey, I will end you.
How much do you hate Joffrey?
There's Satan, there's Hitler, and then there's Joffrey. And right below him, Cersei. Oh my God!
Yeah.
What a little C word she is.
She's horrible.
Oh,
well, you know,
she's so despicable.
The guy who plays Joffrey, crossover with our Nolan thing, he was actually the little kid in Batman Begins.
He is.
Remember, he's the one on the balcony where he sees Batman. He's like, "Is that you? The other kids won't believe me," and he throws him the gadget. That was Joffrey as a little kid.
Batman tried to take him out when he had the chance.
He just kicks him off the balcony.
He turns his taser.
He's like,
there you go, Westeros, and
I just saved all of you.
He grabs, throws him a grenade. Pull the trigger.
Well, you have to.
He jumps off the roof.
I
won't kill you.
You have to keep us updated on how you go as you keep watching that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Once I finish season 3, I'll let you know. But Game of Thrones, this is what a fantastic show. And every time, just when you think, you know what, I think they've got this. I think they got this figured out. Boom, White Walkers, just a horde of White Walkers. I was just like, good Lord. And then just when you think, you know what, Khaleesi's got this, boom, they take her dragons. Daenerys Targaryen might be my favorite character, though. I'm so excited to see where they take her. I hope they don't just leave her there. Like, I'm scared that they're going to make her just do nothing for the next 3 seasons, because now she has her dragons. What is she supposed to do now except just let them grow up and be giant dragons? But Daenerys Targaryen is so cool. What she's been through when they put the melted gold on her brother's head. Oh my God! I just sorry, I'm getting a little too excited.
Well, look, I'll tell you something, and this is not spoilerish because this is just my
I
belief.
trust you.
And
I trust you.
It's but it's like the first books were called The Song of Ice and Fire, right?
Yes.
You got White Walkers in the ice in Westeros. You got the fire from like Khaleesi and the dragons and all that. Okay, Westeros is way over in the west of the Game of Thrones map. Way over on the east is kind of where that red priest chick is from, and that's where the dragons are from. So the Song of Ice and Fire is the song of East meets West. Dragons in the east, walkers in the west.
That red chick, by the way.
I think the way it's going to culminate is, Khaleesi with her army and all her dragons versus all of the White Walkers. Song of Ice and Fire right there. That's what I think it's going to lead to.
Oh, that's going to be so beautiful.
Oh, and I'll tell you something else. You know how... This isn't really a spoiler, okay? So
I know. I trust you. You got this.
But Stannis, right?
Yeah.
He's, she keeps talking about he's this chosen one in her religion or whatever. Because there's a prophecy about this person will come again, and the prophecy is they're born out of salt and smoke and will birth dragons out of stone, right? Well, we know someone else who was born out of salt and smoke and birthed dragons out of stone, and it wasn't Stannis.
It was Daenerys.
Oh! Because remember, smoke in the fire, salt that near the sea, birthed dragons out of stone. So there you go. And that's not really a spoiler, so don't worry about it.
I'm so excited to keep going. Oh my God! I hope Robb Stark doesn't die. I really want Robb Stark to be around, but this is Game of Thrones, so all the people that I like are gonna die.
Well, there's also stay away from stuff on the internet about R plus L equals J, because that could be spoilerish, and also wrapped up with the whole Khaleesi thing. There's a prophecy about 3-headed dragon, because they mentioned, I don't know if they mentioned a couple of times in the backstory when the Targaryen showed up, it was the Targaryen king and his 2 wives, and they had 3 dragons. And there's a whole prophecy about, the next time the Targaryens come around, it will be the 3-headed dragon. And it's like, Daenerys has 3 dragons. So it's like, if she's riding one, who are going to ride the other 2?
Sean Bean, back from the dead.
Well, some say maybe Jon Snow will ride the other one, and maybe... oh, God, I've forgotten his name. What is it? Oh, we were just talking about him, the most popular character.
Hodor.
No, the little guy.
It's
God,
Hodor
what's
and
his
dragon.
name?
Which one? Oh, Tyrion?
Tyrion, yeah, they reckon Tyrion.
Wow, that'd be so... Oh, my... I might cry. I might cry again, just out of pure awesomeness. Also, speaking of awesomeness, what about that score Raymond Dewalji, who does like that main theme, the Stannis theme. It's just, if he wants you to feel like it's about to go down, you feel like it's about to go down. When he wants you to feel sinister and this like ominous, the whole Stannis theme, it makes you feel all nasty and gross. For the night is dark and full of terrors. And what's his name? Bloody Theon Greyjoy. What a little female dog, that little Theon Greyjoy. Ooh,
Don't worry, he gets his.
Oh, thank God. They better take off his dick or something. I don't know. They better. God, tell me God, I hate him so much.
Anyway, we better move on.
Okay.
Because we talked for an hour and we haven't got to our feature yet.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. That's Game of Thrones. I was going to do something else with Star Wars, but we'll save it to the end of the show. Okay. So, guys, it is time for our feature presentation.
And now, our feature presentation.
It is time for the confusingly awesome Christopher Nolan. Probably one of my, in my top 5 favorite film directors working right now, right up there with Tarantino and Spielberg. I think he's done some of the best movies I have ever seen. Bandit, why don't you start us off with Memento?
Sure. Well, we should probably explain to our listeners, because Christopher Nolan's had so many movies and there's such big things, we can't cover all of them here because it'll be a 10-hour-long podcast. So we're going to talk about Interstellar, Memento, his first movie, and Prestige. And we're going to save the Dark Knight trilogy, and we're going to save Inception for a later time. We'll wait till Nolan's next movie is about to come out, and then we'll have part 2 of the Nolan stuff.
We can talk the Dark Knight trilogy before Batman v Superman if you want, unless you just want to talk DC stuff. But
we'll do that.
We'll get Okay, yeah.
But all right. So, should we start with Memento or?
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Here's a good thing. Let's talk Christopher Nolan first.
Okay, yeah. Let's do a preface because Christopher Nolan is one of those guys that I don't want to see you either love him or hate him. You either think he's awesome or you think he's grossly overrated.
Yeah.
After listening to shows like The Weekly Planet, and finding out just how people can just have such a mad opinion on Christopher Nolan, it kind of hurts because I have in the same way people can put George Lucas on a pedestal, I kind of put Nolan on a pedestal just because he's the reason I love movies these days. I know I told my story of me watching The Dark Knight several times in the show, and that was his movie. Him and his brother wrote that. So I don't know. I have this thing for Nolan where I love not everything he does, but I think that he does consistently great work.
Yeah, he's I think, love him or hate him, there's no doubt he's definitely one of the most probably influential filmmakers of our time.
Of course.
Because everyone's been trying to copy him in some way or form. And say what you will about, some of his characters, that's probably one of his weaknesses is the characters. But here's how I view it. I view him as a modern day H.G. Wells. For anyone who doesn't know, H.G. Wells is an author.
Yeah.
He wrote books way back in the day like War of the Worlds with the tripods, Alien Invasion. Yeah. He wrote that. He wrote The Time Machine.
Yeah.
And see, there's 2 different kinds of storytellers. And particularly with writers, with authors, there's 2 different kinds. There's ones that are like H.G. Wells, where they're really good at big ideas and world building, and they build it so completely that you're like, wow, this is a fully realized world. Yet the characters themselves are basically nothing more than vehicles through which you travel through the stories. War of the World's main character, I don't even think he has a name. He doesn't. A vehicle through
He's just a narrator, exactly.
Yeah, and Time Traveler, it's all about, the Morlocks and the Eloys in the future and how all this thing... It's not really about the guy himself. So Christopher Nolan is like that. He's a modern-day H.G. Wells. He's
that's a good point.
You get writers that are good at world building, good at ideas, but their characters suck. Or you have a writer who can write amazing characters, but the worlds they build are not very imaginative. It's rare to find a writer who's both.
I have a little bit. I don't want to say disagreement, but I think an exception, and we'll get to Interstellar in a minute. But I think with Interstellar, he really branched out in terms of trying to do some characters. And granted, to a certain detriment, it got a little muddled, I'll give you that. But Interstellar, those characters. And I think a great thing about his characters is that they're, like you said, they're vehicles. You know, they are used to expel what the theme of the theming of the movie is.
Yeah.
I will turn back to Dark Knight. Batman and Joker, aren't strictly well-defined, well-static character, well-rounded characters throughout the entire movie. But yet the dialogue they are all spewing, it is just pure Nolan theming, good versus evil, how one bad night can ruin everything kind of thing.
When you think about it, like in The Dark Knight, Batman and the Joker, even in the context of the movie, they're not so much characters as ideas. Both of them represent ideas in The Dark Knight, which sort of goes along with this thing of that characters is not really his thing. It's big ideas and world building, which is certainly great. But I think in Interstellar, like rewatching Interstellar for me, that really sort of brought home that, this is where the issues are with him, his weaknesses in characters. And like you might be interested in this, like, because, he works with Jonathan Nolan, who's his brother, and the two of them work on a lot of projects, because we'll cover this in more detail in a bit, but because of the reoccurring theme in all of his Christopher Nolan's movies, that the main character has a dead wife.
Yes.
We'll cover that in detail later, but I actually went and I researched. I thought, I wonder if Christopher Nolan has a dead wife. Like maybe this is his second marriage or something. No. He's been married for the last
Emma
17
Thomas.
years, since he was like 28 years old. He's got 3 kids. So I went and looked at his brother Jonathan. I was like, maybe his brother Jonathan has a dead wife. But he's like, no, his brother Jonathan. In fact, in Prestige, I found an interview where Jonathan Nolan was joking around about, because all the wives in that die. All the main characters' wives die, except for Scarlett Johansson. I think she survives. But Jonathan joked around. He's like, in my version of the script, a lot less women died. But Chris gets a hold of it, and then all these women die. In Interstellar,
maybe
Matthew
maybe he's got
McConaughey,
like a fever dream of just like, one of these days. Well, I don't know how to do British anymore, but one of these days I will kill my wife. He's like, it's his way of killing his wife. Like, his wife upsets him. He just writes a dead wife into the script.
Well, you add it up. Prestige, all the wives are dead in that. Christian Bale's wife dies. She hangs herself. Hugh Jackman's wife dies, drowns in the tank. Batman Begins, not a wife dies, but his parents die. And then his girlfriend dies in The Dark Knight. What's the other one? Interstellar, Matthew McConaughey has a dead wife. He mentions she dies before the movie ever starts. What's another one? Memento, the whole movie is about this guy's dead wife. What's another movie? Inception, of course. All about the dead wife.
That theme in the movie is dead wives and how they can be a pain.
Yeah, I think Batman Begins is the only movie Nolan has ever done that doesn't have a dead wife or a dead love interest. And even then, if you count like his parents dying, it's... I think it goes back to this thing with Nolan of he's just not really good at characters. So he throws in like a dead loved one because he's like, that adds a lot of depth that he probably doesn't know how to add otherwise. But
I think it works.
Move away from it, Chris. Okay, just like Ridley Scott using the atheism and the sexual violence, you got to move away from the dead wives.
I don't think that the dead wife is anything to be really concerning about in terms of this of his movies. Granted, that's like saying, in every Disney movie, you don't kill off somebody, because literally every Disney movie ever, someone around them dies, or someone around them, they get taken from their family or whatever. And I don't think that is a detriment, because the way I look at it, if you can surpass, like Ridley Scott, if you can take your religious themes and not let it destroy your movie, and make it more subtle, then it works a lot better, like Blade Runner, or But if you go too far with it, with something like Prometheus, or what was that other one he did? I forgot. I don't know. It goes too far, and it starts to ruin your movie. With Chris Nolan, I think he just uses it as kind of a trope, kind of just like you got a dead wife. Now let's move on.
I think Inception is an example of the right way to use it, because it gives Leonardo DiCaprio's characters like a motivation, and that's what pushes him forward. So that's a proper use of it. In something like Interstellar, I don't think you really needed it. He just kind of throws it in when Matthew McConaughey's talking to his kid's parents. He just mentions that his wife died. It's like, you didn't need that. And incidentally, early version of the script, Matthew McConaughey was going to have a son, not a daughter, but Chris changed it to a daughter, which is probably why his son doesn't do anything throughout the whole movie. And that,
I loved the dynamic of Murph and Coop in that movie, though. That for me is the crux of that movie.
It definitely is. Yeah, it definitely.
Do you want to get into Memento before we get into Interstellar?
Just want to say, if you're an actress out there and you're cast as a love interest in a Nolan movie, you're dead. You're so dead.
Yeah.
It's like a red shirt in Star Trek. If you're a love interest in a Nolan movie, you are so going to die.
I'd like to see the main character in a Nolan movie be female and see if she dies in the end. Just so people think like, oh, you know what? Maybe a female character's not going to die. No. So sacrifices. Nope, kills herself.
But I was going to say something else I found out. What's interesting with the Nolan brothers is with Jonathan is like they actually grew up like Jonathan Nolan. Their parents, from what I could tell, their parents didn't split up. They have a good relationship, but they moved from country to country. So through some weird situation, Jonathan Nolan grew up in Chicago on America, and Christopher Nolan grew up in Britain, in England. Same parents, but kind of split. And Jonathan Nolan, growing up in America, he realized that having a British accent is not good, so he adopted a Chicago accent to fit in. And he was talking a lot about, and when he was talking about his childhood, I thought I can see a lot of him in the Batman trilogy, because he adopted the American accent, so he has like the duality nature to him. Yes. And the whole idea of being separated from your family by a huge distance, that's a recurring thing, with a lot of Nolan movies in various ways, whether it's Interstellar or whatever. So, it was interesting to see the background between these two brothers and how it sort of worked its way into their various films when you take them all as a body of work. Anyway, I found it interesting.
I have to ask this. Do you think Christopher Nolan is a weird robot man? According to Weekly Planet, they always bring this up. Christopher Nolan is a weird British robot man. Yeah.
Yes, I believe he is.
I don't think so. I mean, in interviews, maybe, just because I think that's just the way he is. Some people are just not good at interviews. Some people just have to get better at that. We can't all be Quentin Tarantino when it comes to an interview.
Yes.
So
and he's a British robot man. And he's a robot man who needs to recalibrate his audio functions, because that's another common thing with all of Nolan's movies. It's often very hard to hear stuff.
I don't think that's his fault. I don't think that's his fault.
Hey, it happens once. That's an accident. Twice, coincidence. It happens in all his movies. No, that's
first of all, it's happened. First of all, it's happened twice. Let's not get too crazy. At least from what I've read.
Yeah. Well, Interstellar was notorious for not being able to understand.
So was Dark Knight Rises at first.
Yeah, he had to redouble Bane's lines. Yeah,
I think that's because Nolan likes to shoot, and he's a big advocate of shooting on film. And to divert for a moment, the whole film versus digital argument is one that I will be probably on your side on. In which case, I'll be like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
In which case, I think it's better to shoot on digital because I think it lasts longer. It's more reliable, and it really does. You really can't tell the difference.
Right. Yeah.
But like with the whole 70mm, like it has to look perfect. I saw Mission Impossible on an IMAX digital screen, and that's what got me into loving IMAX. So I'm seeing Force Awakens in digital IMAX on Friday, and I cannot be more excited. That being said, Nolan likes to shoot in an IMAX film 70mm, and those cameras are loud. And so when he's shooting something, if he's shooting a rocket taking off, it's going to be loud. And so if he has people talking in the audio, I'll tell you what, when I first saw Interstellar, I saw it in a theater close to me. I had no problems whatsoever with the audio. None whatsoever. I could hear everything perfectly fine. When they're in the spaceship talking to one another, I'm like, oh, I could hear this perfectly okay. However, when I went and saw it at a Regal theater a few weeks later with my friend who hadn't seen it yet, there was a problem. So that was proof to me where I was just like, it's not Christopher Nolan's fault. It is the theaters not being able to accommodate.
I think it is his fault, because other movies, the sound can be generally understandable in whatever cinema you're in. But for some reason, his movies, it really depends on where you are as to whether you can understand it. I think that is on him. Anyway, but look, one of the things I was going to say...
Sorry, I was drinking water.
No, it's fine. Because about that whole audio thing, I actually found because after Interstellar in particular, people really complain. People made jokes in Dark Knight Rises. I think Red Letter Media made jokes about the music is the audio equivalent of a herd of elephants running at your face, which is pretty funny. But like, I think in Interstellar,
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, but in Interstellar, that was
thinking of,
really
like,
the point where people were like, I can't, because it's one thing to have background music, but
he fell asleep on the organ.
Yeah.
Hans Zimmer.
And like I found when I was rewatching it on my TV, it was all over the. I literally had to crank the audio up to 100, as loud as it would possibly go, to understand certain parts. And I'm not just talking about the Michael Caine death scene. Even just when they're in the ship talking to each other, when there's no background music, I found it really hard to understand what they're saying. And then all of a sudden,
yeah,
in comes Hans Zimmer falling asleep on his pipe organ, exploding my TV virtually.
I can just picture Hans Zimmer like the camera like pans up. There's just Hans Zimmer on an organist like walking like floating towards the screen. He has a big orchestra behind him. I
picture Hans Zimmer is like sitting there watching the movie, getting ready to score it, and he's waiting for the bit to come up where he needs to add the music, but he has to sit through all the boring Nolan dialogue. So eventually he can't take it anymore, and he falls asleep, and just falls on. And Nolan's like, I love that, and he's like, yeah, it's totally intentional.
Yeah. Let's just get into Interstellar since we're talking about it now.
Hang on, I gotta say, because Nolan, after Interstellar came out, and a lot of people criticized it, Nolan did come out and say that that's intentional and that it's a creative decision. And when I read the article about that, I thought so. I think like when I was studying like web design, they told you if you make a mistake and the client picks up on it, it's not a mistake, it's a feature. That's what you say. It's not a mistake, it's a feature. We can change it if you like. Same thing here. He's like, no, it's not messed up audio. It's just the creative decision. No, you messed it up.
I think.
What did Michael Caine say when he died? Nobody knows. Nobody can know because it's just going.
I made it up. Do not go gentle into the night. He repeats the poem at the before he dies. He's just like, I made it up, Murph. It's all fake.
Yeah, but right before he dies, he says, and he dies. I don't know what he said.
Was he saying?
Well, nobody knows what he said. I Googled it to try to find out what he said. Nobody knows.
Nolan doesn't know what he said. He's just like, I don't know.
Okay, but the interesting thing about that is Nolan said that he didn't want us to hear exactly what he said in that because he wanted to slowly reveal that information, which makes sense. Over subsequent scenes later, they get the message and they find it all out. But here's the thing. Okay, you want him to give some information to Murph, but not all of the information to the audience. So wouldn't it make more sense then for like the last few words that he's barely gets out, that Murph sort of like leans right in, so he's whispering in her ear so that she hears it, but we don't hear it? That'd make sense. But instead, he does a close-up of Michael Caine's face. His mouth is clearly moving. We can hear he's saying something, but instead the music is drowning it out. See, now that doesn't make it look like an obvious choice. That makes it look like a mistake. See, and it's something he needs to address because it was particularly bad in Interstellar.
I'm scared to say that I had no concern about it, that I had no problem with it, because people are going to just be like, you're just a Nolan fanboy. You're just a Nolan fanboy. You just happen to like Christopher Nolan movies. He doesn't make any mistakes. That's not what I'm saying.
Well, look, he does.
His movies have mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't make perfect movies. He's made some, but he doesn't make, completely just he knocks it out of the park every time.
Well, I mean, he says, he's like, look, the music is to represent the emotions of the character and it builds because the emotions are building. It's like, yeah, that's what background music is, but it's supposed to be background.
I really like the music in that movie. I thought it was all.
It is great. It is great. Like, and even in The Dark Knight, like that sort of weird theme for Joker, he spent hours trying to get just the right sound for whenever Joker's around. You know, that eerie kind of whining thing whenever Joker... Yeah. And it kind of builds and builds, but never sort of peaks. It's like, so he's clearly good at that, but I think maybe when he's editing and he's mixing these together, he's a little bit too proud of the background stuff, so he makes it too loud. He's just got to check that back a bit.
Well, I guess that might just go back into your whole thing about world building and what he wants the soundtrack to kind of, and then see how big and grand this world is. And since we're on Interstellar, I gotta say, do you like the movie? Because I don't.
Yeah, I mean, like when I saw it, I really, really enjoyed it, and I really liked it a lot. Yeah. And the Trekkie inside me was geeking out about it. But I found when I was rewatching it this time in preparation for this podcast, it was a real chore to sit through again. It really was.
It is long. It is long. It is long.
Mm.
Now I won't lie. When I first saw Interstellar, I got a little emotional. I saw it at a time in my life I'm not proud. It was a very rough time in my life for mi familia. So when I saw the movie, it hit home, very personal to me. I was in tears. I thought it was a fantastic movie. I thought it was well shot. I thought the score was incredible. I thought everyone was great in it. And I thought, especially, my biggest thing about this is that, in my opinion, for the first time in a Christopher Nolan movie, the characters were really front and center for a good chunk of the movie. The relationship between Coop and his daughter really was the emotional crux of the movie. And I think the way I looked at it is that there were some people who did not buy into that relationship, who thought it was cheesy and overly done. And I think, the way I look at it, if you didn't buy into that relationship, you could not get into the rest of this movie. Like, the pattern, just from people that I've looked at who have seen it, you know, they all love, people who liked the relationship between Coop and his daughter, thought it was very well rounded, thought they loved the love message, were completely fine with what Coop did in the third act of the movie. However, those who thought it was cheesy and thought it was more ridiculous was not a fan of what he did in the third act. And so I don't know, like that scene when he leaves and he's holding her in the bed, I turn to a babbling mess every time because it gets me, because he's just like, I'm coming back, and he's just like, we might be the same age sometimes. And then when they get back off that planet and he looks at the messages that have been left to him in the last like 23 years, no, that to me is proof that Nolan can do emotion. Because
that's a good point, yeah.
Because that's like what, 4 or 5 minutes maybe of just it gets worse and worse as it goes along, and McConaughey is selling the heck out of it.
Yeah.
His face has been turned into a meme in that point. You know, like right at the start, he's just like, "Hey, this is my kid. We're gonna name the next one Coop," and then we find out the baby dies, and then the son's like, "I have to give up on you, Dad." And he's just like, don't leave, no." And then it ends. It's like, it's over. No, back on. It's Murph, and she's just like, "Hi, Dad. I'm the same age you were when you left." And you're just like, oh my god. It's just like, come back. He's like, I'm coming back, Murph. I'm just like, oh god, this is insane. That's Nolan. That's the man that made The Dark Knight. So it seems like that. I'm sorry, I'm going on for too long.
And he's got the whole thing with Michael Caine, if he makes that lie about about the equation, that he pretends like he hasn't solved it. Very much like the lie at the end of The Dark Knight.
Yes.
And Hathaway's character, or even has a line of like, oh, it's a monstrous lie. I was like,
yes.
Nolan loves the monstrous lies, doesn't he?
I think it works better in The Dark Knight than it does in this. But
yeah, I think so too.
Because The Dark Knight, you're just like, oh no, Batman. But with this one, you're just like, oh yeah, I guess he lied. That sucks.
I actually, like, I was one of the people that, like, a lot of people just think it's ridiculous when he goes into the bookshelf dimension. Mm-hmm. I'm one of the people where I thought that was the highlight of the movie.
Oh yeah, I love the moment that happened. I was like, I'm like, yes, he went full 2001.
Yeah,
yes. I was
absolutely.
like, yes, you did it, Nolan. You had the balls. All right.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that bit, and yeah, the nitpickiness in me is, I was like, the implication is that it's humans from the future,
yes,
who have done that. Because everything they've done is through
it
gravity.
Doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, because it's like, if humans from the future give us that wormhole to save us, that means we must have survived without the wormhole in order to be in the future to send the wormhole back. So it's a bit of a problem. I think the only way it works is...
But it could just be an alternate timeline in which they're like, hey, in this alternate universe, we die unless we do something.
That's right.
However,
that's the only way it works. If it's a parallel dimension where we survived regardless, and we're helping our counterparts out.
Yeah. The way I look at it, it's like Nolan did legit research for a lot of this stuff. He went to actual theologists. He went to actual scientists. You know, he said, you know, how would this work? How would this play out? And he did, like, he's been working on this film for a long time, at least as a writer and producer. Spielberg was supposed to direct this at first, and you can see the seeds there, of course, especially with all the family emotion and stuff. But he tries to put his real life facts into a fictionalized story, and I think that's where it gets muddled more than anything. I think him attempting to put that, I think that's why it doesn't make a lot of sense, because he's just putting theories out there of what this could potentially be, and this is, according to him, is the realist this situation would turn out to be. But because it's so weird and out there, we can't perceive it as a reality at this point. So we see it, and a lot of us will go, well, that's stupid, but I think he overreached in that he expected everyone to just go with it, I think, with the whole bookshelf thing. But again, I loved it.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I think, and another thing people love to hate about Interstellar is the whole thing where Anne Hathaway sort of expresses it best in that line where she's like, "Love transcends all barriers," and that's something people take issue with, isn't it?
Oh, jeez. Oh, yeah.
I didn't really mind it that much. I just think the acting and the writing was not enough to sort of. I don't mind love being the key.
Yeah,
it's just they could have. It was a little bit. What's the word?
For
clumsily
me,
handled?
It was that performance that really just... I think Anne Hathaway did not sell that.
Yeah.
I don't think she really did that great of a performance in this movie at all. And we'll get to overacting when we get to someone else in the movie. But
I think a lot of the fine details in the story do work out. Like I know Nick Mason on the Weekly Planet, where they talked about Interstellar, is like, why does it have to be so convoluted? They send us facts like through the second hand of a watch and all this, but when you really think about it, you're like, okay, so they got to send a message back through the black hole. The only thing you can send back is gravity. How do you do that? Well, it would make sense if you have people on each side of the message who kind of know each other, like family members, like a son and a daughter, like father and a daughter. It makes sense. And it needs to be through some tool that they both know, like the watch. So it does make sense when you think about it. It was that's probably the most efficient way you could send it. I can't think of a better way to do it.
For people that were like, have that watch is such a good leap. I think it's like you said, it's that watch because she knows it's her father's watch, and she knows that it's acting weird. That for me was enough, I guess, for me to be like, oh, that's why she gets it, because. She it's not like she just didn't do any research for the last 30 years and then just saw the watch and was like, oh, my father's in a bookshelf dimension. No, she's been doing research. She's been trying to solve this equation for years. And then she's just like, oh, now I've got the answer. It's the watch, But do you want to talk about Matt Damon?
I think, actually leading it to Matt Damon, I think the only plot hole I can think of is the whole Michael Caine equation. That's only half of it because the other half needs to be information from in the black hole. And that's why Michael Caine says, I can't, complete the equation sort of thing. But they already sent Matt Damon through the black hole, so couldn't they have got the information and sent it back then? That's the only plot hole I can think of.
They didn't send Matt Damon through the black hole.
Well, yeah, they did, because he was on the planets on the other side.
They sent him through the wormhole, and then he was on that ice planet. But he didn't go through Gargantua.
Yeah, but the wormhole is Gargantua.
No, I thought Gargantua was the black hole.
Yeah, the black hole and the wormhole, they're the same thing, right?
No. The wormhole is what gets them to the other side of the galaxy or the universe or whatever.
Yeah, but the wormhole is a black hole.
No. The black hole is that thing you see with all the light spherical around it. The wormhole is that thing you see that's kind of dotty that leads them to the... where she puts her hand there and she's just like, what is that? I don't know. The first touch, whatever she said.
The two are intertwined. It's the same thing you go through to get there. So Matt Damon went through it to get to the ice planet.
No.
You don't go he could have sent the info back.
No. You don't go through the black hole to get to the planets.
Yeah, you do.
Remember, because they were trying to stay away from the black hole because they didn't know it was on the other side. They had to go through the worm. Did you just watch the movie?
No, they went through the wormhole, which is the black hole. They came out the other side. But the water planet, for example, was too close to the black hole for them. That's why all the time was weird. So the black hole and the wormhole are the same thing. They didn't go through the black hole. No,
they didn't go through the
They
black
are
hole.
the same thing. The guy has the line. He says, if the black hole is the clam, the singularity in the center is the pearl. They're the same thing.
No way.
Yeah, he says that line, remember?
Oh, gosh darn it, Nolan, now I'm confused. I remember that line. But I feel like, no way, they didn't go through the black hole, because why was it such a big deal if they went through the black hole at the end of the movie then?
I know, because see, that's why it's a plot hole. the information from inside the black hole is there. They pass through it to get to the other planets. Matt Damon already did that, And Matt Damon says that Michael Caine already solved his half of the equation before he even left. So he could have got Matt Damon to send the info back and they would have all been set.
I feel like you're wrong, but I don't want to call you wrong because you might be right. Because you've seen the movie. You've seen the movie more recently than I have. It's been a couple months since I've seen the movie.
Let us know, listeners.
Please let us know.
Is that a plot hole or not? It's
I'm
very complicated.
Confused because I'm almost certain that because they show the singularity in the black hole, and they're two very different things. They show the wormhole and the black hole, and it's two very different things.
Oh yeah, like it's like an orb.
They make it
it's an orb, but once they go into it, it turns into a tunnel thing.
They make it a big deal to avoid that black hole because we see it. It's that black circle with the lights things around it, you know, and the wormhole is something that looks completely different. So I want to, because they didn't go through it because they found the wormhole was on the other side of Jupiter.
Yeah, well, I mean, once they go through, they try to avoid the black hole because if they do, they just get sucked back through again. So that's why they were trying to stay away from it until they're done with all the planets.
To a black hole because it's a black hole, Bandit. They don't want to get sucked to a black hole because it'll crush them and kill them. It's a black hole because no one's ever been through a black hole before.
The black hole and the wormhole, the gargantuan, they're all the same thing.
No
Remember?
way. I call
the black hole is the clam, and the singularity in the center is the pearl.
I don't think that's what they were going
for. The pearl is inside the clam.
You know what? I know what you're saying. Maybe it's that line.
Anyway, let's move on.
Please.
Anyway, the only reason I was bringing that up is I was saying like people nitpick the hell out of it, but as far as I can see, all the details do make sense. That thing's the only plot hole I can find, and that's easily forgivable because it's just one. So
it might not even be a bloody plot hole either. Anyways, let's get to Matt Damon.
It's not a plot hole; it's a black hole. Sorry about that.
You can just get out, Bandit. You just end the podcast. Thank you all for watching. See you in Force Awakens. Okay, no, Matt Damon.
Yes. Don't you mean Matt Damon?
Matt Damon. Did you know he was in this before you saw it?
No.
I had no idea. I had no idea he was in this. And so when he showed up, I was like, I turned to the guy next to me and I was just like, is that Matt Damon? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, how about that?
And I don't know if you picked up or not because it was very subtle in the movie, but his character Dr. Mann was remarkable. He was remarkable. Did you know he was remarkable? Because it's important to know he's remarkable. Very important he's remarkable. A remarkable man is Dr. Mann.
Yes.
Did you realize he was remarkable? Because he is remarkable.
Yes.
How many times did they say that before we got there? It's like, okay, this guy's going to be a villain.
At least 3,000. Listen.
So I knew he was going to be evil before we even saw him because of that.
The whole man is evil thing is not subtle at all. But no one's not super great when it comes to subtlety.
Do you think we needed a villain in Interstellar at all?
I think they needed a reason to. I like what they were trying to do. I liked the Matt Damon. I liked his character. I thought it was very what's the word? It's very sunshine, and where they find the guy and he just starts trying to kill them all. But I think it adds a lot more tension to the movie because I was very tense during that whole scene when I first saw it. I think it helps. I think it helps bridge us from the water planet to the scene where he gets to the singularity.
Yeah. I mean, they need
because
there's 3 planets. They need two failures and then 1 to succeed. So they need a reason for man's planet not to work. So I get what they were going for, but yeah, it seemed a little bit unnecessary because the whole world's going to die. We don't really need it.
I think it's the delivery. Look, Matt Damon's trying his best, but come on, he's being very. I'm sorry, Cooper. Can you see it? The faces of your children as they're dying. I'm not.
Yeah. And remember, after we saw The Martian, we talked about wouldn't it be cool if like the Matt Damon character in The Martian and the Matt Damon character in Interstellar were actually the same guy? Like after he gets back from Mars, from The Martian, that's why they're like, he's the best of us. He's the one who needs to go through the wormhole.
Yeah, because he's been through the ringer.
Yeah, that'd be great. Could you imagine if that was true?
That'd be a tragic story, and then
you would understand his character so much more.
Yeah, he went crazy. Wow.
He's like, I survived Mars, but I can't survive this. It's too much, That adds so much to his character.
How great was that overall confrontation of Mann and Cooper was man, what a stupid name of Matt Damon and Cooper was I think really well done when he starts cracking his helmet. I'm just like, oh, don't do that. I was like, I was getting all tensed up and it's whenever he finally does escape and blows up the ship and it's spinning out of control,
Yeah.
and they have to redock it. I'm just like, ah.
And it's interesting watching that again once you know that he's a bad guy from the start, because sort of after he wakes up, pretty much the first thing he says is he's like, did you find any others? Because surely one of the other planets was habitable. And they're like, no, it's just you. And he has this moment where he goes, oh, man. So, like, in his head, he must have been thinking, like, the justification he was doing is like, it's okay for me to trick them to come here because I'm sure one of the other planets was okay. So we'll still save the species. But then after that, he's like, no, it's got to be plan B. I got to steal all the embryos.
Yeah. I liked, especially when you go back and rewatch it, he's acting sketchy from the start. Like, just from out of the get-go, he's just like, he's acting like real shifty. But I think...
I remember when I saw it in the cinema, I was like, when they fly down to his planet, and it's like they wake him up, I was thinking, like, as soon as I saw that ice planet, I was like, something's not right here. And, like, as soon as he woke up, I'm thinking the very first thing I would have said to him was like, what's the deal? Where's all the life? What is
why
this?
are the clouds ice?
Yeah, I was like, there's nothing living here. What is going
Where's
on?
the atmosphere?
But they take their time in getting around to that. And he's like, no, there's a pocket somewhere that's okay.
I'm like, yeah, a 2-mile pocket for what, 7 billion people?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's like, don't worry, I'll show you where it is, Matthew McConaughey. Let's just walk by these perilous cliffs. Don't worry about it. It's totally fine.
I like when they talked about this in Weekly Planet on their episode on this, where he's just like, he should have just told him because they probably would have been like, hey, screw you, but let's go.
But okay,
you know?
let's go.
Yeah, like, but let's, because they're not just going to leave him there. No.
Yeah.
I'd be like, you suck. I'm going to smack you when we get on the ship, but let's go.
I think one of the things as well, I'm sorry, I keep interrupting.
No, it's a discussion. It happens.
But I think, like, jumping back to the water planet, I think he also could have set up why they needed to go down on that water planet first. Because remember, they come through the wormhole and they're like, we got 3 planets, this is the first one, but if we go down there, we're going to lose all this time because of the relativity thing and the difference in time. And one of the other astronauts is right away is like, who cares? We could do plan B there. Let's not even worry about plan A. Matthew McConaughey is like, no. But I thought, I didn't get why they needed to do that, because they're like, okay, we can go to the other 2, but we might not have enough fuel to come back to this one now if the other 2 don't work. So, like, they were sort of saying that, but then they did come back through the wormhole anyway towards the end. So I don't understood.
You mean the black hole? You mean the black hole?
Whatever it was, gargantuan or whatever. They're like, so I'm like, why? I don't understand why they need to go down first. Why can't they visit the other planets? And if there's nothing good there, come back here last. I don't think they did enough to establish why that was necessary. Maybe if they explained they don't have enough fuel, but they didn't, and they ended up having enough fuel anyway. So I think they could have. I think it's
because they needed to get Wes Bentley out of there.
Yeah.
Because
that guy.
I think they just need to, like, let's kill a guy. Let's kill a red shirt.
Yeah, but I definitely did love the idea of that planet where time moves slower there. I love that idea so much.
I love that planet in general, the whole water thing.
Yeah.
And people had some things of like, what's up with why is one planet just completely percent water? I'm like, well, Earth was pretty much an ocean at one point.
Yeah.
Earth was pretty much just like that. Granted, it wasn't just 3 feet of water.
And we still are 70% water.
No, but I mean, we weren't just covered in just 3 feet of water on the entire surface. We did have, it was all ocean. But that being said, Earth was once like that. Earth was once just water, and there was bacteria organisms, and then fish started forming, and then once the land came around from volcanoes and whatnot. Anyways, evolution. But the waves all look great. Yeah.
Wade, I found that infuriating though. Like when I watched that in the cinema, because they land and they're just kind of ambling along, nice and slow, da da da, just walking around.
You think they'd be able to see the waves? You think they'd be able to see idiots! You think they'd be able to see the waves from like the atmosphere right before they land? Because like those things are like mile high because it takes them forever to get over that wave. You think they'd be able to see like? They'd be able to see the wave, the ocean moving in the current. I don't know.
But they're like, they know like 1 hour is 7 years. And they're walking so slow. And granted, they do have a line where the gravity's punishing. It's really strong. But still, like, again, if I was Matthew McConaughey, I would have been screaming into the microphone.
Like, we are,
like,
and he is like that a little bit, where he's just like, we gotta go. Come on, time is money. Let's go.
Yeah, he was mildly annoyed. I would have been exploding. I'd be like, hurry
like,
up!
Like, I am leaving you. Goodbye. Like, you start taking off. I'm leaving. Tars, let's go. Speaking of Tars. Good segue. What a great robot Tars is. People have so many, like hatred towards Tars. I thought Tars was awesome. I thought it was a great homage to the Monolith from 2001 without it being a straight ripoff. I thought it worked well as a kind of a Swiss Army knife. I love the practicality of it. I love how it's a real effect. And I loved how he had real character. He was one of the best characters in the movie. You know, he's like, sarcastic. This is 100 over. And he's like, self-destruction. It's like, bring that down to 70 or whatever. And he makes no joke. He's like, one bring it down to 65. And
in one of the reviews I saw where they were talking about, like, with Tars, like, take the humor down to 60%, A lot of them said, oh, that's probably how Christopher Nolan directs the actors. Increase your emotion to 70%.
And then they bring like an Oscar-worthy performance, and it's just like, no, too much of my theming, and he's just like, not enough themes. Bring that back to Hans Zimmer. Give it 120%. I got an idea.
Bring in the pipe organ. Yes.
Bring in the pipe. It's just Hans Zimmer standing like Davy Jones.
Bring in the pipe organ. Cue the flashback of the dead wife. Roll.
Yep. Roll. Get my IMAX camera. I got something here. All right. Mm-hmm. Get the film. Yes. Dead wife. Yes. Oh, wait. Where's my confusing plot? Where's my confusing plot? Where's the script?
This plot makes way too much sense.
Yeah, exactly. This makes way too much sense.
We need 7 new subplots thrown in here.
Have you?
But look,
Dark Knight Rises flashbacks. Look, he still makes some of the best movies of the years in which they come out.
And I think the world building of what he had happening going on back on Earth, I thought that was really believable.
I liked
the kind of documentary bits they had where it felt like they were telling you. That felt really believable to me.
There's this funny video on from these guys called College Humor on YouTube. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, College Humor. It's really funny.
Yeah.
And they have this video called Having Sex with Christopher Nolan. And it's this girl describing it afterwards. And she's just like, oh man, it was a little confusing at the end, but man, what an explosive finale. And it's her being like kind of sexually innuendo, but like also explaining how he directs his movies. She did it with like I think Quentin Tarantino as well. And they're so clever videos. I love the videos, but
I'll have to check those out. They sound great.
Yeah, they're great.
They're good College Humor. I really like College Humor.
Oh yeah, I love their Batman stuff. But
I unsubscribed because I was getting sick of them with all their political stuff. They got way too much political stuff. I was like, just stick with the funny skits. I just want that. So, but yeah, they're still pretty good though. They're the ones who did that Matt Damon thing. Anyway, that's Interstellar, right?
Yeah. I still really love the movie. I don't say it's one of my all-time favorites. It definitely has problems, but it's so well done. Christopher Nolan, he put his heart and soul into it.
Yeah, it was clearly a passion project.
Absolutely.
And
I think it paid off.
Do you know what next thing Nolan's going to do? Has he mentioned what he's planning?
We just know it's going to be out in the next year and a half. That's all we know, because we didn't really know about Interstellar until maybe 2012ish. Maybe even 2013. He always keeps it secret.
He's got a bit of the J.J. Abrams in him.
Yeah, I mean, back when Inception came out, all we knew that it was going to be about dreams. That's all we knew. But I think my hope is that he does a horror film. I really want to see him do a horror film, because I think if you have like what horror has proven for me is like a director like the director of The Babadook or James Wan, who did The Conjuring. If you give a good, talented director who knows how to shoot things and make the actors work for it, and you give him to do a horror film, because horror is such a simple genre, you can do so much with horror. But then again, it'd probably be too complicated. Like the monster's like a thought, like you make up your own monster or something. I don't know. Anyways, I don't know.
So let me cover Memento then. So Memento it's starring. Oh, God, why do I always blank on names?
Guy Pearce.
Guy Pearce. There we go. I should know he's an Aussie. Okay, it stars Guy Pearce, and he's got this affliction, which is his short-term memory is gone, so he can only remember things for like a couple minutes or so. So he's got this system where he like writes notes all over the place, and he's got photos of people he knows and like his car and stuff like that. And that's how he keeps things going from day to day. And of course, he's got a dead wife.
Yep.
And he kind of lives where he's trying to track down the guy who killed his wife. But of course, like investigating and trying to keep clues, important stuff he's got like tattooed all over his body, about like the identity of the guy and all this. But it's a really interesting movie. It's got that whole, also another thing that Nolan likes to do is that out of order, backwards, forwards, time jumping, but it often makes sense. Like he does it in Prestige a lot, which works well. A little bit of it in Batman Begins. He got critical acclaim for it here in Memento, because it's kind of like there's little. This is one of those things that you like. It's one of those movies where you like to try to solve the clues.
It starts at the end, like it, you know, like I don't know, like that. Like just from the little bit I've seen, like the movie starts at a certain scene. I don't know if you want to give me spoilers. It starts at a certain scene and then works its way back to that scene without actually showing that scene, and then pieces itself back together. It's very clever.
It's like you are kind of trying to put together different stuff that's happened, and but it works well with the theme of this guy's memory is shot. He has long-term memory up until when his wife was murdered and he got hit in the head, and everything after that is just fragments. So the movie is sort of pieced together out of fragments, and like there's different things, like he's got like a sort of a cut and a scratch on his face for a long point of it. So for a long bit of the movie, you're always like, what's going on with that scratch? And then later on you see how he got it. And yeah, it's a really interesting movie. Also very sad, because you get to see how this guy, he's like a broken individual, but he's just got this drive of he wants to get the guy who killed his wife. But he's surrounded by people who know that his memory keeps resetting, and they're like either just messing with him, or they're taking advantage of him in some way, or they're trying to trick him into doing stuff. And you feel really bad for this guy.
I think I know how it is. I think I figured out who was the one that killed his wife. And I don't want to give it away here for people who maybe haven't seen it. I don't know if you want to do spoilers here.
The ending I thought it would be turned out not to be. I won't give spoilers, but I thought it would be that he killed his wife and he fractured his memory apart to forget it. That was my thought. I thought maybe he killed his wife. That's what I first thought. No, it's not. It's something else. But it sort of ends with. It reminded me a bit of Shutter Island. You know, with Leonardo DiCaprio. Because it sort of ends with a similar decision where he's like, you know, do I want to continue on having a purpose like this where my life is broken, or, you know...
Shutter Island, what a great movie, by the way, before I just...
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Love that movie. That's a great, just haunting ending, by the way. But yeah, keep going, I'm sorry.
And that's another one once you go back and watch it knowing how it ends... There's lots of little things that you go, oh, that's what that meant, or that's.
And you're like, no, Leo, wait, stop, no, don't do that. And the cigarettes, you're just like, and the gun. Yeah, good movie. Yeah.
Totally. But Memento, really good movie. I don't know what else to say about it. Like, certainly for like Nolan's first movie, very, very impressive. I'd recommend it. It's certainly one of those. It's like if you haven't seen it, but you've come off like the Batman movies, don't expect it to be like big action packed like that. It's certainly not. It's
well written. It's very well written.
Yeah.
You can tell he wanted to get his name out there. You can tell this was him being like, this is my style. Right. You can tell that this is him going, you know what? This is me going. This is me saying hi to the world. Isn't this what got him?
It's not a big action piece. It's more of like a puzzle that you have to solve.
Exactly.
So if you're gonna watch it, you got to watch it. Don't expect it to be another Dark Knight. It's more like that. It's more subdued, but definitely worth a watch. Yeah.
Isn't this what got him Batman Begins? Or was it this, or was it Insomnia? It was one of those two.
Oh yeah, Insomnia. That's another one of his. Yeah. Oh man, I forgot about that. Yeah, I love Insomnia. That's
haven't seen it.
Movie.
Haven't seen it.
Again, no love interest dead in that.
Yeah. Really? No kidding. Wow. Okay.
No wife dead. There is a dead woman, but there's no dead like wife or anything.
We can talk about that. We can talk about that another time.
But it again, like Memento, and this also carries with it a theme, another common Nolan theme, which is someone sort of living in a loop, and they're haunted by something in their past that they can't get around. Whether it's in Insomnia, or it's like him framing a bad guy in the past. Whether it's Inception, the death of his wife, or whatever it is, there's always guilt and there's living in a loop. We saw a lot of that in Dark Knight Rises.
Sometimes they interlap, the dead wife in the loop.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's a big part of Dark Knight Rises as to why he had him moping around so much, is just going back to that same theme again. But we'll cover that another time. But yeah, Memento, really good. Check it out.
I can't wait to start debating Dark Knight Rises with you. This is going to be so much fun. Okay, I'm just warning everybody for when that happens.
Yeah, we should do that. Like how we've covered all the Star Wars movies leading up to this, we should cover each of the Batman Nolan movies leading up to the BVS, like you said.
All right, yeah. All right, we'll start that in a few months then. Yeah, okay. So Bandit, do you want to get into The Prestige?
Yes, because it's something that you and I both love.
Yes.
And no one else seems to love.
I think it's very underrated. I think how do I put this? Nolan did something, and spoilers of course for the Prestige. Nolan did something with the Prestige that just kind of blew my mind when I first saw it. I remember.
Are we going spoilers? I think we kind of need to if we're going to talk about it, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, full spoilers. It's been long enough. Time code's down below if you want to skip.
It's been out for 6 years at this point, or not 6 years, 9 years, excuse me. And so when it's revealed, and I guess we can just kind of get to the cloning a bit here. When it's revealed that it's clones, I had that moment of just like, what? No way! And I was so into it. And I told you a story about when I showed my friend Christian, and how when he saw it, he paused his TV and went, okay, what? And he sees the second cat go by and he's like, wait a minute, and so we always tell the story of how when Christopher Nolan was in the meeting at Warner Brothers, he was just like, all right guys, I got an idea, Memento, and like yeah. He's like, with clones, and they're just like, here's $20 million. And he's just like, here's Wolverine, and have fun.
Really, because I actually like, not to brag, but to brag. I actually, like, when I was watching it at the cinema, I figured it out as soon as they showed all the top hats, because we see Nikola Tesla, he's testing the machine, and he keeps taking his top hat out, and he puts it in the middle, and it zaps.
That's like the first shot of the movie is the top hats.
Yeah. But when Hugh Jackman goes to leave the house, and there's like hundreds of top hats just lying around on the ground, I immediately realized, I was like, okay, so he's copying himself, and the guy that drowned was a copy. Blah blah blah. So that's why I liked it. Like, again, I know Nick Mason doesn't like the cloning machine, but I like it because it's foreshadowed with the bird in the cage trick that they keep doing, where they crush one bird and then replace it with another to bring it back. He was basically doing that with himself, with the cloning machine.
Yes.
And I think that's genius. I love that movie.
It's such a haunting movie. Also, Nolan is good at making that kind of, like, if he wants you to feel depressed, you will feel depressed.
He's really good at that. Yeah.
He's making movies like, hey, where's my depression? Who brought this sunlight in here? Cut that out. Like someone's smiling. No smiling. But and so like whenever we first see Angier, who is Hugh Jackman's character, die, and we're just like, oh my god, what happened? And basically, for you guys that maybe haven't seen it, just don't care about spoilers, the whole plot of the Prestige is that it's these two magicians, I think Alfred Borden and Angier, played by Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale, and they are trying to outdo each other magically. And it's basically Angier, who was Hugh Jackman, he's trying to figure out Borden's technique of how he makes himself go through one door and appear at the next one instantly.
The transported man, he calls it.
Yeah, where he'll throw down a ball.
Door, just appears in the other.
Yeah. And so he's trying to figure out how he does that, and it's basically him. It's basically told in kind of like three separate timelines, not timelines, but like three separate periods of their life. Like one is him in the future, in the present, trying to figure out why Angier died. One set kind of before that of how he figured out the trick, and then one set in the very beginning of how they first became magicians. Basically, if that's how I can remember the movie. It's been a few months since I've seen it, but I think I love this movie. I'm using that word again, love, just because it's so Chris Nolan. It's such a Christopher Nolan kind of movie, but it works in the best way possible. You're watching it, you're just like, this is so complex. It's so well written. The characters are so detailed, and and again, the world. It's a smaller world. It's a more personal story, but yet you feel like the world is massive. I'm going on for too long. You go ahead.
No, I agree with everything you said. Yeah, I think it's an underrated masterpiece. Really.
Yes.
Because for some reason it didn't resonate. Maybe it was the time it came out. Maybe it was just the whole cloning thing. But yeah, I think the story and the complexity of the story and how it's all woven together, yet it doesn't get you confused. Again, in kind of Memento style. I think that's kind of like the pinnacle of that type of Nolan storytelling.
Yes.
And I think it's the best he's done, yeah. And I love the whole reveal of that. Like all the reveals that come later on, they have clues for them. And I love that because that's solid storytelling.
Yes. You see Christian Bale as the clone, like as the doppelganger.
Yeah.
In the early start. Like Christian didn't pick that up. My friend Christian did not pick that up. I kept looking over him like, is he going to get it? He didn't get it. He didn't get it. And I'm just like, good job, Nolan. You didn't see it. I'm sorry. It's like the red doorknob in Sixth Sense. No one picked it up.
Yeah, they did a really good job of that because, Christopher Nolan, throughout the whole time, he's got this sidekick, which is also Christian Bale with these giant mutton chops to hide his face, and I didn't recognize him.
No,
and the character never talks, and that's because they're twin brothers, and he's got a identical twin brother that no one knows about.
Yes,
that's how he can do the transported man. It's him goes in one door, his brother comes out the other, and that's why it drives Hugh Jackman crazy because he can't figure out how he does it. Because he thinks he doesn't have a double, but he does. He's got and that's set up earlier on with they look at that Chinese magician who does this magical appearing fishbowl where he waves his cloak and then a fishbowl appears, and it's because he carries it in his knees. So he has this weird way of walking, so he pretends to be crippled. Every time he's out in public, he pretends to be crippled, just so that when he's doing this trick where he's holding the fishbowl on his knees, he walks the same as he always does.
Yeah.
And Nolan, Bale picks that immediately because he's doing the same thing with his twin brother. Yeah.
Yeah. It just, and Michael Caine has a great supporting role in which you don't know which side of the magicians he's on. Like for a while you think that he's a part of Angier's crew. But in the end it's revealed that he was for Borden the whole time, with the daughter. And it's so good to see a movie in where the people who did things bad and get their comeuppance kind of, and also at the same time it's great to see people who were wrongfully accused of, because that's ultimately the overarching plot of the movie, is that Borden is convicted of killing Angier, even though Angier killed himself. But that's my question. Is there just another Hugh Jackman running around out there, just doing the trick over and over? Or so what? Oh wait, no, he became the bloody billionaire, didn't he? He became I forgot. Shoot,
Lord
it's been a while since I've seen. Yeah, there you go. He became that guy.
Well, he always was, because in the beginning of the thing, he's talking to his wife before she dies, pre-wife death. And he's talking about the fishbowl tricks. He goes, I couldn't imagine pretending to be someone else all the time. And she goes, well, you kind of are. And he says, well, I don't think changing your name, is quite the same. He goes, I just promised my family I wouldn't embarrass them with my theatrical endeavors. So he always was Lord Cordlow.
Yeah, that's true. And so it's weird, and it's a great theme of he never knew whether or not he was going to be, the guy in the box or the guy who was revealed to the audience.
That's kind of the heart of it, isn't it? Is these guys, they want to entertain these crowds, and in order to do it, they have to it comes at a terrible price for everyone around them.
And
for both of the guys.
Yeah. That's kind of an overarching theme in some of my favorite movies. Like Steve Jobs, what we just talked about recently with Steve Jobs, about how, you're willing to make the ultimate sacrifice to make sure you for entertainment, for great products. And it reminds me a lot of myself, but I don't want to talk about politics. But I don't know. The more I talk about this movie, the more I get excited about it. The more I just want to go back and watch it again. And we haven't even touched on the whole wife aspect of it. You know how great Scarlett Johansson is in this role.
Yeah.
You know, she's a really good actress. Have you seen We Bought a Zoo with Matt Damon?
No.
She's in that, and she's really good, and it's very heartwarming. It's Cameron Crowe, and so you know,
Okay.
and she's good in that. Just a random thought. Any further thoughts on Prestige?
Yeah, I think I love the way it kind of messes with you, because like when the movie starts, you're like on Hugh Jackman's side. You want him to get his revenge on Christian Bale for what Christian Bale seemingly did. But again, it was just a discrepancy between the twins. One of them thought to tie this knot, the other twin thought to tie the other knot, and that's why there was the mistake made. So again, It wasn't really his fault. So it's like you're sort of on Hugh Jackman's side until he sort of gets to the point where that desire for revenge just tips him over the edge.
Yeah,
By the
it's
end,
that
you're
point.
like,
It's that
Christian
point
Bale
where
wasn't
he's
such
like,
a bad guy.
it's that point where he's like, you know, I don't care about, I care about the secrets, and that's where Scarlett Johansson's kind of just like, and I love again, and going back to the whole duality thing where he's just like, one of us loves Sarah, the other one loved the other, and I was just like, wow,
You think he's a scumbag cheating on his wife, but he's not.
No,
it's 'cause,
no.
It's because one of them is
gotta go
married
back.
to one, and one of them's got the other. Yeah, so
Yeah, I've got the DVD sitting right here on my DVD rack. I gotta go back and watch this movie now.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
And the
there's
level that they're prepared to go to, like, well, one of them has his fingers shot off, the other one has
Yeah.
to cut his fingers off. So
Yeah.
it's like amazing.
and Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman really masterclass performances here. People turn to Wolverine when they think of Hugh Jackman. I think this might be my favorite Hugh Jackman performance. He really shines here. I think David Bowie's great too. Out of nowhere,
as Tesla,
David
he's
Bowie.
great.
Yeah. And also Andy Serkis is a great, you know, bumbling butler.
That's right. He was
bumbling.
like the Igor to Nikolai Tesla.
Yeah, exactly. And he did great, you know, and showing that he could do live action work.
Can't wait to see him in Star Wars as well. Even though he's probably not going to be live action.
Plagueis, man. Oh, okay, Bandit. I get a big
Plagueis.
theory. Okay, I'll tell you what. Okay, so I'm at Barnes & Noble, which is an American bookstore. I don't know if they have those there in Australia. I'm at Barnes & Noble. It's a bookstore. And they have the Star Wars books. So tell me why they have all the canon books, and right next on the very end, what book do they have? Darth Plagueis by James Luceno. And so I took a picture of that, and I'm just like, that is not a coincidence.
Yeah.
No way. I don't buy it. Darth Plagueis is in.
I would love to see Darth Plagueis in this. I really would.
I will say it now. Darth Plagueis is in The Force Awakens. No way.
Yeah.
No way he's not. Absolutely.
It makes sense to me
Anyways.
because, like I said before, Kylo Ren, he's a pretty young guy. The idea that a young guy could form this giant empire doesn't make sense. He's got to have someone who's older and more experienced.
He needs a Palpatine. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and who better than Plagueis? So I mean, if it's
Yes.
not Luke who's the new emperor, it's got to be
I'm
Plagueis, right?
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I can't. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, any further thoughts on the Prestige?
No, I think that's it. How about you? You got any other last thoughts?
I guess just to close it out, I think it's a movie that if you haven't seen The Prestige and you've made it this far without spoilers, even if you know the spoilers, still go back and watch it for just appreciate, you know, the production design's really well done, the acting's great, the writing's incredible, everything about this movie is really well done. It really is underrated. I wish more people go back and watch it. You know,
I think...
everyone's like,
sorry, go on.
Everyone just is like, you know, go back and watch Memento or, you know, for classic Nolan. I think you can watch Prestige for classic Nolan because I think this is the pinnacle of Christopher Nolan's
puzzle
style of filmmaking. Yes, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is like having watched Memento, that's great, but I think, like you say, he took that style of like solving a puzzle kind of story, and Prestige is really the pinnacle of it. That's his best form of work in that style.
Yes.
I hope people understand what I'm saying. I don't know.
No, like this is the best of what he's been able to accomplish.
That's right. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
So.
All right. I think that's all right. So guys, that has been our talk on that's been our partial talk on what is one of my favorite directors, Christopher Nolan. All right, Bandit, want to get to listener questions?
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Righto. Okay, guys, so this is the listener question portion of the podcast. Traditionally, Bandit and I would post things on social media, on Facebook and Twitter, saying, "Hey guys, ask your listener questions, and we will answer them on the show." But recently, we have made an official Facebook page for the Movie Mania podcast, simply titled Movie Mania Podcast. In which case, you can post things on there anytime you'd like, and anytime we post, you can comment questions on there if you want. You can ask us anything. You can give us homework assignments. The winter break so I'll be watching a lot of stuff, and so on there, whenever I post a thing, hey, listener questions, and you guys can respond, read them on the show, give you a shout out, and all the good stuff. Let's see. Okay, so. Jack Critchley asks, Mad Max Fury Road as an Oscar contender. It was just nominated at the Golden Globes for Best Picture Drama and Best Director.
Yep, no doubt about that in my mind, because this is Captain JJB, by the way. Hey, Captain.
Hey.
He's yeah, I guess that's... Look, best picture and best director... Nobody can doubt that the visuals and the cinematography of Mad Max Fury Road were absolutely a triple plus standard.
Yes.
Some people have issues with the story, no doubt, but nobody can fault the cinematography. Well deserved, I think.
Yes.
Hopefully they win.
I have some trepidations. Look, I don't disagree with you. I think that it definitely deserves some recognition from the Oscars, especially for direction, because George Miller. Good Lord. Anyways,
can you think of another movie that would deserve it more so?
Like Best Picture?
Yeah, of the last year, because.
Well, I think of a few movies I think that are better than Mad Max.
In terms of cinematography and that, like.
Oh, like in terms of like a visual spectacle.
Yeah, because that's
no.
Well, it's nominated for best picture drama, best director. Can you think of another one that should win over Mad Max in that category? Because I can't really think of one over the last
visual
year.
Spectacle-wise, no. I mean, but if you're talking like just a better movie for the best picture, I will go Steve Jobs or The Martian or Inside Out. But if we're talking, I going back, I think it depends on how many films the Oscars are nominating this year. Because if you think about it, Argo back in 2012 got like the sweeping, like everything, Critics' Choice Awards, Golden Globes, all that good stuff, just like Mad Max has. And then once the Oscars hit, nothing, I think, except for like Best Picture, in which case it won Best Picture. Because sometimes the Academy will be stupid and leave movies out of the nominations completely altogether, whether or not they do 5 to 8 or 10 nominees. I think it definitely deserves a nomination because it's one of the best films of the year. I think George Miller deserves to maybe nomination, maybe even win for Best Director. I think the cinematography, I haven't seen The Revenant yet with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hardy, but I think the cinematography definitely deserves a nomination. Along with the score. The score by Junkie XL was incredible.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah.
Yeah, I'll rock out to that every now and then. Yeah, Matt, like it definitely has a chance. I don't know about winning, but it's definitely going to be nominated for sure. Just because movies like Spotlight and Steve Jobs, what maybe we'll call the artsy movies.
Jobs. Like The Martian was good. Yeah, I mean it was good, but I don't think it was better than Mad Max in terms of directing.
Mad Max is one of your all-time favorite movies, Bandit. So I mean, you're gonna have not necessarily a bias, but you're gonna have a set precedent for it.
That's true, but I think just visually, it was a lot more creative in the way it was shot than most other movies. Like,
of course,
that's got a style to it that sticks out to you. Like, The Martian was a great movie, but in terms of directing, I don't think you could say it was better than Mad Max.
I don't disagree.
So I hope Mad Max wins.
I don't disagree with you, but I think looking at what the Academy usually picks as the best movie. They want the whole shebang.
That's true.
They don't want just Mad Max is a visual spectacle with great performances. It is, but
and besides, all the people who decide these awards are like old grandpas that don't know anything.
Well, they're all actors. They're all actors and directors, and they're actors and directors and actresses. And
as the film theorists have pointed out, they nominate movies that either say how great actors are, like Birdman, or movies that are about the Holocaust. They usually win. So.
Well,
it's a great video. Check it out. Film theorists.
I've seen it, and they're right. They're right in a certain aspect, but I think that's a bad precedent to set towards the Academy. I think they do some great work. That being said, I lost my point. Son of a female dog. I lost my point. Where was I going with this? Come on, you can find it. Oh, back. Yeah, Mad Max it's lacking in the story department.
Yeah.
And which I don't have a problem with because Mad Max does not need a story. Yeah. Mad Max, and a lot of people's big complaint, like I know Jeff Snyder who runs like the film reports, like the Wrap.com and Meet the Movie Press and his podcast and whatnot. His problem is that Mad Max was a ancillary character in his own movie. I'm like, well, that's Mad Max for you, but whatever.
Yeah.
But looking at what the Academy tends to put as Best Picture, they want a great visual style along with a great story, along with great characters, along with fantastic writing.
But I don't think so. But like, isn't the whole reason they have different categories is because they're not looking for the whole package? They'll like something might guess like if it had the best story, it'd be nominated for best story, or it'd be nominated for best effects, or it'd be nominated for best score.
Bandit. Best Picture means it's the best movie. And sorry, I hit the microphone
Best Picture
earlier.
means everything. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, best. I think that's what they're trying to say here. And for anyone that compares this to the Golden Globes are really like the IMDb of award ceremonies, because with IMDb anybody can vote for anything. Like Force Awakens already has a 9.2 score on IMDb, and no one's seen it yet, so don't listen to that. And Golden Globes is run by the Hollywood Foreign Press, who really have been infamous for just nominating any movie they want because they want to meet celebrities.
I think all these like award shows are just ridiculous and a waste of time anyway, but people seem to like them.
I will give the Academy Awards something because I think they've been around long enough to where I will say that they are. I'll give them legitimacy.
Do you watch them? I never bother watching them.
I watch them. I don't watch. I skim to the actual awards.
You know what annoys me about those shows is it just seems like Hollywood loves patting themselves on the back. It seems like just another excuse for them to pat themselves on the back.
I think they're just congratulating people making great movies.
Not really, because there's a lot of politics involved. Anyway, let's move on. We talked about this for too long.
Okay. Paul Spooner.
Hang on. I got my email one here.
Oh, sorry. Paul.
Okay. From Henry. Henry says, "Hey Bandit, I have a question for the podcast. I was wondering, what is the most disappointing movie that you saw? Not the worst, but the biggest letdown, and the Star Wars prequels don't count," he says, because we don't
like ever? Like ever?
He says, "Thanks, Henry, brackets, Crazy Space Knight of Ren, brackets within brackets, now with a crossguard lightsaber." Thanks, Henry.
Okay, he is officially the Crazy Space Guard Ren of the podcast. Wonderful.
Brackets
Hi, thanks, Henry.
with a crossguard lightsaber.
Jesus,
So
the
biggest
most disappointing movie
most
ever?
disappointing, not necessarily the worst, but just the most disappointing.
Yeah.
I was pretty disappointed with Prometheus. I wouldn't say it was the most disappointing. I was pretty disappointed with Dark Knight. Well, no, I wasn't disappointed with Dark Knight Rises. I was a little confused.
I got mine.
Okay, what's yours?
Iron Man 4.
You mean the Avengers? For those who don't know, Trey calls the Avengers Iron Man 4.
No, I call the Avengers Iron Man 3. I call Iron Man 3 Iron Man 4.
Okay,
Iron
that's
Man
really
Iron Man
confusing.
3. Iron Man 3.
So disappointed indicates that you were super hyped for it before it came out. Were you super?
Yeah. I was because think about it. You know, I'm a 12-year-old kid walking into this movie called The Avengers, and I see it and it blows my mind.
I thought you were talking about Iron Man 3 that you call Iron Man 4, not The Avengers.
Yeah, I know. I'm building to it.
Okay,
I'm building to it, Bandits. No, you're fine. And then comes October of that year, I get this trailer, Iron Man 3 official trailer drops, and it's just, and we are promised the Dark Knight of the Iron Man movies. This epic, big finale, or not necessarily finale, but like this big, epic third installment of this trilogy, if you will. And when we got in there, it was just like, okay, it's funny, Tony Stark, all right, I expect this, it's Shane Black, whatever. And then it just keeps going, and it's just so lackluster, and it just gets worse and worse as it goes along. And they just keep making every wrong decision, and then you get the Mandarin twist, and you're just like, all right, well, let's see what you can do from here. And then they're like, I'm the Mandarin, I'm Guy Pearce, I'm the Mandarin. I'm just like, all right, guys, come on, steady on, please. And then they had the audacity to have Gwyneth Paltrow save the day, and I was just like, done, I'm done. And then they take out the shrapnel.
You don't like those feminazis saving the day?
And then I'm avoiding that. And then they take the shrapnel. And then they take the shrapnel out of Tony Stark's chest, and you're just like, you just got rid of what made him Iron Man. Exactly. And the movie ends.
And then he's like, well, oh, by the way, I can cure that. Did I mention that before? No? Well, I can.
And then,
okay, let's do it.
And then the post-credit scene happens.
Yeah.
And it's just a funny scene, but it's Bruce Banner. I'm like, so this movie ultimately had nothing to do with the MCU at all. I've never seen it been referenced again, ever. I'm just like, well, what was the bloody point of that?
Even in Age of Ultron, he's got all his Iron Man armor back. And it's like, you just destroyed it all in the last movie. Never mentioned. So yeah, you're right. It's pretty much like it never even happened.
This whole movie was a product of them not knowing when that Robert Downey Jr. was going to be back. They were like, "Oh, we can't keep paying you $50 million a movie, so let's just make this your last one and blow up the suits."
And why did they remove Pepper Potts' powers? Like, I know they want to restore the status quo, but really, for the characters in that world, why would you possibly ever want to do that?
Because she would blow up if she got too unstable.
When? That was never
they
said
say that.
When?
They say that, don't they? They're like they don't know how unstable the powers are. You know, if it gets.
Oh yeah, a couple of them explode later on. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought that was triggered by Killian.
I think they just didn't want the risk of them blowing.
Okay, I got the impression that was triggered by Guy Pearce, but I don't know. Whatever. That movie sucked. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not one of the worst films I've ever seen. It's still well shot. A lot of the action was done right. Robert Downey Jr. is great as usual. I thought the kid was great, but overall, just as a movie, what were they doing?
Well, I think for me, my most disappointing. I mean, I'm tempted to say Godzilla because I did find that disappointing.
I wish you would. No, I'm kidding.
But at the end of the day, I do. The more I think about it, yeah, I think I have to go with Prometheus as the most disappointing because even though I was disappointed,
this is just because we can't say the Star Wars prequel.
Yeah,
because I'd go Phantom Menace.
I might actually still go Prometheus, just because for me I felt like Godzilla and all that. Yeah, I was expecting more monster fighting. Disappointed I didn't get it, but it didn't bother me that much. But Prometheus, I felt like there was really important stuff there that I wanted to see them handle. It felt more important to me, and it just squandered every opportunity it had. So I'd say that's got to be. Prometheus has kind of become. That bombed so notoriously that's kind of like, it's the word Prometheus now has kind of become
like poison.
Yeah, it's like, how people, like when Total Recall came out, people would reference Total Recall as the name they use for terrible remakes. Like, oh, they're going to Total Recall RoboCop, or they're going to Total Recall the Ninja Turtles. Prometheus is like that for, these disappointing movies. Oh, they're going to Prometheus it. Build up the hype in this mystery and then do nothing to answer it. So yeah, I gotta go with Prometheus.
They're gonna Lindelof it. That's my big thing. They're gonna Lindelof it. That's a great video.
Yeah.
See, with Prometheus, and we've talked about Prometheus several times before. You think it's a great horror film, and so, when I first saw it, I always thought it was a horror film for me. I guess I always looked at it as, because I saw Alien with my dad when I was like 9. And I was just like, oh, that's what this is. And so when I heard this was a prequel to Alien, I go, so it's a scary movie. All right, guys, let's go see a scary movie. I never once thought about this being this mystical sci-fi thing. I always kind of thought that it was a nice little horror film that looked beautiful.
Yeah.
I do understand where you're getting at, though.
Yeah, because, I mean, I wouldn't have minded if it just marketed itself as a straight-up horror movie, because I enjoyed the first Alien, and that was a straight-up thriller horror movie.
It was Jaws in space. It
was actually more like a haunted house in space.
Exactly.
But anyway.
Exactly. Yeah,
but, I was one of the people who watched those trailers over and over and was like, this is a grand mystery that they're building. So yeah, I felt disappointed.
You felt Lindelof pulled the $10 out of your wallet. And just like,
yeah. Damn you, Lindelof.
And you saw Tomorrowland, you're just like, not again. What's the next thing Lindelof is doing? Because I'm just going to avoid it altogether. Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll look it up off camera.
He did Tomorrowland.
Another question. Yeah, he did do Tomorrowland, unfortunately. He ruined Brad Bird for me for a bit there. He tampered his career.
Yeah.
Okay, Ryan, I almost called him Kessler. Ryan Cleese. Oh, Jesus Christ. Ryan Cleesler asked. Asks, are there too many Star Wars movies being made? In my opinion, there are too many comic movies being made for any of them to beat Dark Knight level. I don't want this to be the case with Star Wars. So I'll let you start with this, Bandit.
No, I don't think there is too many Star Wars movies being made, because I think with apart from the new trilogy they're making, the anthology movies seem to be at least diverse enough at the moment that I think they can give us something a little bit different with each one. And I think it's worked out that it'll be one Star Wars movie each year, won't it be? Something like that?
For a while. Yeah, for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it starts to get to like 2 or 3 a year, then yeah, don't want it anymore. But I'm really happy. Like, still the Star Wars fan in me is like, if you told my 12-year-old self, like, there's going to be a time where you'll be able to see a new Star Wars movie every year. Yeah, that little kid in me still thinks it's fantastic. So at this level that they're making them now, and they will be in the near future, no, I don't think that's too much. What do you think, Trey?
Well, I think in response to their statement they threw in there about just because there's too many movies coming out that they can't be a Dark Knight level, that has nothing to do with anything, I don't think. Because you don't have the same guy doing every single comic book movie. If anything, I think the chances of there being another Dark Knight is enhanced by the fact that we're getting so many at this point, because competition invokes creativity. The reason First Class is so great is because Matthew Vaughn had to prove himself because he came onto the project late, and he's just like, we have a rush match, what we're going to do it, and he fixed it, and he made this fantastic movie, one of the best superhero films out there. Excuse me. Joss Whedon, just because just because we had 3 or 4 comic movies that same year doesn't mean we still didn't get the Avengers, which in my opinion is up there with The Dark Knight for one of the best movies ever. I don't think it has anything to do with it. And so the response to the Star Wars question, I'm not one that would mind getting 2 Star Wars movies a year if they were different enough. If they were able to be like, because the Star Wars universe is so massive and large, and it's a universe. So if you could do like one time do like an Old Republic movie, and where it's kind of like Game of Thrones in the Star Wars universe, and then maybe 6 months later do, I don't know, an Obi-Wan solo film about him trying to survive the world on Tatooine or whatever. Yeah. And you can do like an Unforgiven style movie. Yeah. That's enough. Those are 2 different. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, it's a diverse enough universe that they can keep telling new stories, and also I think, like with the comic book movies or with Star Wars movies or whatever, these brands that are coming out now where there's like multiple movies. Yeah, it's no different than like in the old days. Yeah, they did the same things. Like, only instead of like movie brands, it was centered around actors. Like you'd have your James Dean or whoever, and he'd have all his kind of movies, and he'd just make one after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other, and they're all like that. It's no different than like all the westerns that used to be out. And exactly. It was supply and demand then, and it's supply and demand now. As long as the demand's out there, they'll make it. When people start losing interest, they'll start making other stuff. So I don't think it's nothing to really worry about.
Yeah, it's like, just because we're getting Suicide Squad and Civil War the same year we're getting Ninja Turtles 2 doesn't mean that, X-Men Apocalypse can't be the next Dark Knight. That's not that, like, there isn't really a correlation there. Plus, you shouldn't be comparing movies to try to be the next Dark Knight. a movie not being the next Dark Knight does not make it disappointing. I'm not sitting there like, oh man, Steve Jobs wasn't as good as Dark Knight. The movie sucked. Because it's like with Force Awakens is coming out. If it's not as good as Empire Strikes Back, who cares? Because Empire Strikes Back is one of the best movies ever made. That's not a standard you should hold yourself to.
That's true, but I think he means the Dark Knight just because he's talking really the quality over quantity thing. So I can see that. Quantity diminished the quantity. Because let's face it, at the time The Dark Knight was made, that was the only comic book franchise that Warner Brothers had at the time.
Yes.
Now they're going to be juggling 50 different things.
That was still the same year we got Iron Man, Hulk, and a Hellboy movie.
That's true.
All in a matter of like 3 months, we got all 5 or 4 of those movies. So,
so at the end of the day, no, I don't think it's really anything to worry about. I think there's always going to be the next Dark Knight quality of movie out there.
And we get this question a lot of when is the comic genre going to break. And you answer it perfectly. When it breaks, it breaks. If he dies, he dies. Like, that's just what happens.
It bursts when we stop seeing comic book movies.
I think once we get like 3 Fan 4 sticks in a row, that's when we'll stop liking them. Like when we get 3 of those, we're just gonna be like, you know what? These are starting to suck again.
Mind you, the way I felt when I was watching X-Men Apocalypse, the trailer, I thought, part of me was like, maybe it's time to shelve the X-Men.
Hashtag give it back to Marvel.
Just shelve them. Like, because I was like, what else? What else can they do with the X-Men at this point? You know, at least in the Marvel universe, you can do lots of Marvel movie universe. You can send them into space. You can do all this cool stuff. X-Men.
Just give it back to Vaughn. Just give it back to Vaughn, man. He could do some great stuff with. Anyways,
exactly. I agree.
Could you imagine if they gave Matthew Vaughn Deadpool?
Oh, that'd be so great.
Oh my god! Give him the Deadpool sequel.
Here's
I'm gonna swear again.
Okay,
do you want to answer another question?
Here's a quick question. Have you from the Resurgence channel?
Resurgence channel, yeah.
Oh god, of course it's Resurgence. It's all one word. That's why I'm throwing up. Have you seen the movie Moon? It's a great independent sci-fi film. I have seen it and I really loved it, and highly recommend it for anyone who likes sci-fi. Have you seen it, Trey?
I know the big twist, I guess, but I have not seen it. No.
Homework assignment.
Yes, I will do that.
Pencil it in now. Homework assignment. And by the way, for all the people who sent Trey all those hilarious, funny homework assignments, don't worry. I have not forgotten. Trey will be forced to do them at some point.
You're funny.
We can't expect him to watch them all. You know, he can only have one homework assignment each week. But some of them are really funny, and we'll get to them eventually. So don't feel like your suggestion has been wasted. It hasn't.
How about you get like 3 of them? Because I'm a student. I have things to do. I have a life outside of this book.
Well, somebody did say, like on my YouTube channel, said I should watch One Punch Man. So I've got the first episode of that. I haven't had time to watch it yet. So I'm gonna.
Oh my god, people are referencing that at my school. I don't know what that is.
Me neither. It's some superhero comedy thing. So. Yeah.
All right. Are we good on questions? Do you want to bank the rest of these for next week?
Actually, I think there was one. There's still a couple more, but we can bank it. But I think there was one more I was looking at. Oh, yeah, here it is.
I know. Next week we might get a lot of Star Wars based questions since we're doing Force Awakens.
Yeah.
But we'll answer these.
I wanted to run this one past you because I think this is kind of more your thing. There's one from Sep PD who says, "What young adult book series could be the next big hit?" You're into young adult books. Like, do you know any ones that could be the next big thing?
I wouldn't say I'm into young adult books, but
well, you've read the Hunger Games. You read the Scorched Trials.
Well, that's because I took the STAR test and it was just a standardized test. I need something to kill
Look,
I haven't read.
You're in a safe place, Trey. You can admit it. You've read Divergent, haven't you? Come on, admit it.
I also have 50 Shades of Grey, but we're not going to get into that.
Shame.
What a horrible book. What a horrible piece of you know, I don't. As long as they keep pumping them out like crap, and as long as there's, because the reason that the Divergent is making more sequels is because they're mildly successful, because they keep putting out middling crap. And so the reason Hunger Games worked is because the first Hunger Games movie was such a phenomenon because it wasn't terrible. People saw that and they were just like, "Hey, God, Twilight didn't suck," and so it became a massive hit. People around the world loved it. And then Catching Fire came out, and it was just like, dude, they did an even better one, And now Mockingjay has proved it to be a failure, but I think Hunger Games is kind of that. It's kind of an anomaly in a sense. It's not like comic book. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Did the Hunger Games movie come out before Twilight or after it?
It came out the same year the last one came out. It came out March of 2012.
Okay, because I was going to say that it feels like Hunger Games started the young adult thing, but really Twilight was there before then.
It really was. It was a mixture of Twilight.
Harry Potter was there before Twilight.
Well, Harry Potter was much more a kid's book than anything.
Yeah, it wasn't really young
those
adult.
Those books were for kids. Yeah, as I got older, they became young adult novels, but they were kids' books at the start, kind of like The Hobbit. I think. Like things like Harry Potter, Twilight, unfortunately, and Hunger Games, lightning in a bottle. Think about it. Think about how many we've gotten: Immortal City of Instrument Bones. We've gotten The Host. We've gotten Beautiful Creatures. We've gotten Vampire Academy. I can think of list like 50 bajillion of these. I'm number 4. All of these things have failed because they just didn't hit the same way Hunger Games did. So I don't know what would be the next big hit. Maybe. Fault in Our Stars was another great. I don't know if you've seen that one. Fault in Our Stars. It's a lovey-dovey. It's a love story. It's written by John Green, who I think is actually a pretty solid author. It's about cancer. With Shailene Woodley, the girl from Divergent, and it's really good.
Oh, that's right. I think I've heard a bit about that. Yeah.
It's made for the teeny boppers, as you call them, but I think it's one of those that stands out.
Sure.
It's very well written. I think you'd enjoy it, but
Okay.
that's one that, and then they did one called If I Stay, about death. Really, the whole young adult genre has really been one that I don't, because it was a lot of the same, and along with like the books themselves are a lot of the same stuff, and a lot of the stuff sucks. So it's when they make it into a movie.
Because you're saying which young adult book series could be the next big hit. So, like, I do have two ideas. Is like the first one, I cannot remember the name of the book, but it was, from what I remember, it was really interesting. It was basically this small town, and this weird phenomenon happens where everyone over the age of 15 just disappears off the face of the earth. Like, it's set in this small town, but it's implied it happens worldwide. So it's kind of like Lord of the Flies, where it's just all these little kids then have to start running their own society, and gangs form.
I'd rather see a new Lord of the Flies, honestly.
Yeah, but that's a little bit too dark for young adult. I mean, come on, they bash a kid's head open with a rock.
I want to see a modern Lord of the Flies. I think that'd be awesome.
But that's why I think this would work, because it is kind of like a modern Lord of the Flies, but it adds, because all these young adult things need to seem to have some mystery thing behind it, and how that all happened would be good. Either that, or there was an Australian book series which I read, which was also really good, called Tomorrow When the War Began, which is basically, I hesitate to use this comparison, but it's basically like an Australian version of Red Dawn. It's basically Australia gets invaded in the book series, and there's these teenage kids that are out camping
by
in the Australian.
Do they get invaded by Americans?
No, it never actually says directly which country it is.
I was going to say. But about time.
The text where it shows the soldiers talking, the way the sort of broken English is phrased, you know it's an Asian language. So it's implied that it's China, but they never actually say China. But it's it's said about these Australian kids out in the outback, and while they're there, Australia gets invaded, and because of where they are in the country, the country town that they're sort of in is like the roadways in through this harbour, and the army's using it, and they kind of become rebel fighters. And there's a book series that's like many, many books in it. Really, really good. They did make a movie about it, which was in Australia. I don't know if it went overseas. Awful movie.
Well, duh.
But I think if that was made like properly in the way that the books are made, with some actual good actors, that was a problem with the movie, that'd be a really good young adult series.
I haven't read this. I don't know if it's a young adult book, but Ready Player One is one that I keep hearing that I need to read. It's a big nerd book. And I think that's really what they need to do ultimately now with the whole young adult genre, is that they need to take the genre and meld it with other things. Like, do like a young adult sci-fi adventure. And I'm not talking Hunger Games, because that's not sci-fi. That's like I'm talking like hardcore Star Trek style space adventure. Or do nerdy things like Ready Player One. I know Spielberg's doing the movie, but I gotta read that book. I don't know what it's about. I think it involves video games. That's all I know. But I've heard a lot of things about that. But I think that's all I can think of with the whole young adult genre. I don't know about you.
The only other thing I could think of would be if they make set in like real, like today's world in high school, and it's like a teenage version of Breaking Bad. You have some teenage kids, like this good kid, then slowly starts like turning into like a drug lord or something.
But it's like elementary school. It's like,
but setting
like 6 years old,
something like that happening in every kid's normal life, where they could imagine, wow, imagine if this happened to me. Like, that'd be interesting.
But instead of like meth, it's like Fun Dip. That stuff, or like you get like the white. It's like Fun Dip, and it can still be blue. It's like, you got the blue stuff. It's like, yeah, I got the blue stuff. You got the sticks. I got the sticks. And it's like this legit hardcore The Wire style series, just set in an elementary school. Yeah. I'd pay good money to see that.
Or they could be doing con games. You know, they can make up con games.
Before we close out the show here, I want to make a little soliloquy.
Yes.
It's about The Force Awakens.
Okay.
And I'd like to make a comment before we see this movie. And here's to hoping the movie really doesn't suck, because this is going to make this whole thing null and void. And also make a real douche if it does. I've told this story before, but I remember sitting in my room, the room I'm actually sitting in right now, on my bed, going through IMDb, the news, and seeing the headline, Disney buys Star Wars, Episode 7 due out in 2015. And at that time, Star Wars, for me, wasn't something that was a big part of my life. I grew up loving the movies. I grew up playing with the toys. You know, I always wanted a lightsaber. But this last year, maybe year and a half, for me, Star Wars has been not only an entertainment device, but a coping mechanism. I have dealt with so much, I almost swore again, with so much crap in my life in the last year and a half, 2 years, that, you know, when I've discovered this world of cinema, the world of entertainment, YouTube, and more importantly, when I've discovered Star Wars and just how wonderful the whole thing can be, it has been my way to help me get through this thing, along with, you know, my YouTube career, and you guys, the listeners, and you, Bandit, giving me this podcast, featuring my video on your channel, allowing me to get distract me from my world around me. And so Star Wars has been that, Star Wars has been that thing that has kept me going through the few years. And I really hope the movie doesn't suck, because I would like it to keep me going, you know, for a long time. That being said, thank you all for watching.
Well, that was really nice.
Thank you all.
I think you're safe. I think the movie will be okay.
That's what I'm hoping for. Thank you, and thank you all.
Well, that's really that's really set it up, because what happens if we see it now and I totally hate it? Now, if I'm like attacking that, it's like I'm attacking your soul.
That's my biggest fear, is that like that's what happens when like someone tells me craps in the Dark Knight. I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you do that to me? It's like you just like punch me in the stomach.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
If you hate it, let me know you hate it, and I will debate you. What if I hate it and you like it? That's gonna be even worse. What if I hate it?
Hey, look, if I can love Terminator Genesis, how bad could it be for me to end up hating it? I've got to tell you. Come on.
Coming from the man that doesn't like Godzilla or Dark Knight Rises,
the guy who hates
it's not that hard for
Godzilla
you.
loves Terminator Genesis, you know?
Yeah, it shouldn't be that hard for you to make the wrong choice. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Not like and subscribe. That's my outro. Thank you all for watching. What do I usually say? You were all a wonderful audience. Special thanks to Milan Jeftik for the channel art on the podcast. And make sure you rate us on iTunes, as I'll get more of those. Comment down below on the YouTubes. Like and subscribe both our channels. Bandit, where can people find you?
Yes, I just want to say, because between now and next episode, you guys will all have seen the Terminator Force Awakens.
God, I hope not. I will blow my brains
Force
out.
Awakens. Just nerd out responsibly. Just letting you know.
Okay.
Because we're all going to have like geek epilepsies. Just nerd out responsibly. And we'll see you guys next week for our full talk about that. Oh,
yes.
I can't wait.
Oh my God. 3 hour podcast. Okay, tell you what, Bandit, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna set my phone on. I'm gonna cut my camera on and set it underneath my knee, and then I'll play the audience's reaction to when the first the title, the text scroll comes on screen.
Oh, that'd be
you won't hear the screen. You won't see the screen, but you'll hear the audience's reaction. And I want to see how crazy it's gonna get. I'm so excited.
I might do that in my cinema too, because mine's midnight showing, opening night, so it'll be hardcore fans, and it's rare for Aussies to cheer and stuff. So if there is a cheer, I'm gonna capture it.
Yeah, and then I'll see if I can get it towards the end of the movie too, whenever the credits start, and see if people go. So you see if people go either or it's like lose their mind. Anyways, Bandit, where can people find you?
People can find me on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube as Bandit Incorporated, and they can find you.
And they can find me on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, and Facebook, I guess, now, at Trey White or Podcast Media. However, I will be going dark until The Force Awakens comes out. So if I don't respond to your stuff, don't worry. It's not because I don't like you. It's because I'm not trying to get anything spoiled. Yeah. All right. See you all next week for when we talk Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Yeah, baby. Star Wars. See you all next week, and catch you all later, our movie maniacs.